Chosen one, God is telling you right now to sit down. Do not adjust your posture out of confusion. Do not look around, wondering if that instruction was meant for someone else. It was not. The Creator of everything you see and everything you cannot see has turned the full weight of divine attention toward you, and the command is simple. Sit down. Not because you are weak, not because you have failed, not because your legs cannot carry you any further, but because what is about to enter your life is so massive, so dense with glory and purpose and accumulated blessing, that your knees will buckle if you try to receive it while standing up. This is not a gentle suggestion. This is an urgent command from the throne of heaven. There is a reason you are hearing this right now and not a year ago, not 5 years ago, not during those long seasons when you begged for a word and heaven seemed silent. The timing is not accidental. God does not waste breath, and God does not speak early or late. When the Most High tells you to sit, it is because something is already in motion. Something has already left the warehouse of heaven with your name on it, and it is approaching with a speed that demands you prepare. Think about what it means when someone tells you to sit down before they share news. A doctor walks into the room and says, "Please take a seat." A family member calls and says, "You might want to sit down for this." The instruction to sit is never about weakness. It is always about magnitude. It is a warning that what you are about to receive is so significant that your body needs to be anchored before the wave hits. That is exactly what is happening in the spiritual realm around you right now. The Creator is not suggesting that you sit. God is commanding it. When God says, "Sit," the wise ones sit. This is what some might call impact preparation. It is a principle that runs through every layer of existence, from the physical to the spiritual to the neurological. When something of enormous magnitude is about to arrive, there is always a preparation phase. The universe does not deliver its greatest gifts without first ensuring that the recipient can survive the delivery. Think about how astronauts prepare before re-entry into the atmosphere. They do not simply fall through the sky casually. They strap themselves into reinforced seats. They angle their vessel at a precise degree. They brace every muscle because they understand that the force of re-entry could destroy them if they meet it unprepared. The blessing itself is not the danger. The lack of preparation is the danger. And what God is doing right now by telling you to sit is the spiritual equivalent of strapping you in before re-entry. You are about to re-enter a dimension of your own life that you have never experienced before, and you need to be anchored for the transition. What is about to shift in your reality requires the kind of preparation that only a loving Creator would think to provide. Think about how the earth responds before a great rain arrives after a long drought. The air changes first. The pressure shifts. Animals begin to move differently. The wind carries a scent that was not there an hour ago. The earth knows the rain is coming before the first drop falls, and it begins to prepare. The soil softens. The roots of trees extend deeper. Creation itself understands that receiving something powerful requires preparation. You are being told, not by the wind, not by the pressure in the air, but by the voice of the living God who has watched you walk through every drought, every dry season, every waterless stretch of your journey. And that voice is saying the rain is coming, but you need to sit down first. You need to stop bracing against the old storm and start positioning yourself to receive the downpour of blessing that is about to break through every barrier between you and the life you were always meant to live. There is a neurological truth here that mirrors the spiritual one perfectly. When the human brain encounters experience that exceeds its current framework, it goes into a kind of shock. People literally lose their balance when they hear news that is too big for their mental architecture. Their legs give out, their vision narrows, their hands shake and their breath catches. This is not weakness. This is biology confirming what the spirit already knows. That magnitude requires preparation. God is not being poetic when telling you to sit. God is being practical. What is coming to you is big enough to literally knock you off your feet, and the Creator loves you too much to let you fall. The command to sit is simultaneously physical, emotional, spiritual, and neurological preparation for the biggest shift of your life. Now understand something essential about the posture God is asking you to take. Sitting is the posture of receiving. Standing is the posture of doing. These two postures serve completely different spiritual functions. You have been standing for a very long time. You have been standing in prayer lines and standing in battle and standing through storms that should have flattened you. You have been standing when everyone around you was sitting down in defeat. You have been standing at your post when there was no visible reason to keep holding your position. And God saw every single moment of it. Every hour of standing was recorded. Every moment of endurance was noted. But the season of standing is transitioning into a season of sitting, and this is not a demotion. This is a recalibration of your entire spiritual posture. What is coming to you now is not something you need to chase. It is not something you need to earn through more effort or more sleepless nights. It is not a reward that requires one more sacrifice, one more push, one more ounce of blood from an already exhausted body. What is coming to you now is something you need to receive, and you cannot receive with clenched fists. You cannot receive while running. You cannot receive while your entire being is locked in the posture of war. The shift from standing to sitting is the shift from striving to receiving. And this is where so many chosen ones get stuck. They have been in warrior mode for so long that they do not know how to transition into receiver mode. The muscles tensed for battle do not relax easily. The mind scanning for threats does not quickly shift to scanning for gifts. The heart, armored against disappointment, does not instantly open to accept joy. God knows this about you. That is why the instruction is not simply wait for your blessing. The instruction is sit down, because sitting forces the body to release tension. Sitting forces the legs to stop moving. Sitting forces the hands to open. God is using your physical posture to teach your spirit how to shift into the mode of receiving. If you study scripture with careful eyes, you will notice a pattern that appears again and again. Before the biggest moments of receiving, God positions people in the posture of sitting or resting. This is not coincidence. This is divine architecture. Every major download from heaven is preceded by a deliberate shift from activity to stillness, from doing to being, from standing to sitting. Consider Elijah. Here was a man who had just called fire down from heaven. He had stood on Mount Carmel and outperformed 450 prophets of a false god. He had proven the power of the Most High in front of an entire nation. And then he ran in fear from a single threat until his legs gave out and he collapsed under a tree and asked God to let him die. Look at what happened next. God did not tell Elijah to get up and keep running. God did not rebuke him for his fear or demand that he stand and fight again. God sent an angel with food and water, and the instruction was simple: eat, rest, sit. Because a massive assignment was coming, a journey to a mountain where Elijah would hear the still small voice of God. The sitting was not the failure. The sitting was the preparation for the greatest encounter of his entire life. Consider Mary in the home of Martha. Martha was standing, working, serving, cooking, doing all the things that looked productive and responsible. And there was Mary, sitting at the feet of the teacher, doing nothing the world would call useful. Martha complained that she was doing all the work while her sister simply sat and listened. But the response that came back was devastating to every person who believes that standing and doing are always superior to sitting and receiving. Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her. The one who sat received the revelation. The one who stood received exhaustion. There is a time to stand and serve, and there is a time to sit and receive. Consider David in the fields as a young shepherd. While his brothers stood tall and trained for battle, David sat in the pastures with sheep. He sat and he sang. He sat and he prayed. He sat and he practiced with a simple sling. Nobody looked at that young man in the field and saw a future king. Yet when the prophet Samuel came looking for the next king, every brother who had been standing was passed over. The one who had been sitting in the fields was the one who was called. The one whose posture the world dismissed was the one whose posture God had been deliberately preparing for the throne. This is the pattern, chosen one, and you are stepping directly into it. What you have been doing, the standing, the running, the pushing, the fighting, the grinding through circumstances that should have broken you, all of it was necessary. Do not regret a single moment of the standing season. Every battle you fought built something in you that the sitting season requires. But that season of standing is ending now, not slowly, not gradually, not in some distant future you need to keep waiting for. It is ending now, in this moment, with this message. The war you have been fighting is over, and the stunning truth is that you do not even know it yet. You are still swinging at enemies that have already retreated. You are still bracing for impacts that will never come. God, with infinite patience and tenderness, is saying you can sit down now. It is finished. The battle is won. What comes next is not another fight. What comes next is the reward. God is not removing your strength. The command to sit is not the removal of your power. It is the redirection of your posture. You have been standing in a battlefield with your sword raised and your shield up, but the battlefield has been transformed while you were not looking. The ground beneath your feet is no longer a war zone. It has become a throne room, and in a throne room, the one who stands is the servant. The one who sits is the one with authority. In every throne room throughout human history, the most powerful person in the room is the one who is seated. Kings do not stand at their thrones. They sit. Queens do not pace around their courts anxiously. They are seated in positions of authority. The throne itself is a seat. Power, dominion, authority, rulership, all of these are expressed through the posture of sitting. When God tells you to sit down, God is not telling you to step back. God is telling you to step up into authority, into dominion, into a position of power that you have been fighting toward without realizing that the fighting was always meant to lead you here, to this seat, to this throne that was reserved for you before the foundation of the world. You have been standing in the posture of a soldier, and God is now transitioning you into the posture of a ruler. Soldiers stand, rulers sit. Soldiers fight to gain territory. Rulers sit and govern the territory that has already been won. The territory of your life, your finances, your health, your relationships, your purpose, all of it has been won. Now it is time to stop fighting for what is already yours and start governing it from seated authority. This is a promotion, chosen one. God is promoting you from soldier to ruler, from warrior to governor, from the one who fights for the kingdom to the one who sits and administers it. And the first act of that promotion is the simplest instruction. Sit down. Take your seat. The throne has been empty long enough. What is coming toward your life right now is not small. And this is where you need to really hear what is being said, because your mind has been trained by disappointment to lower its expectations. Your heart has learned to hope small because big hopes led to big pain. You have taught yourself to expect modest improvements because expecting transformation felt too dangerous, too much like setting yourself up for another devastating fall. But what is heading toward you right now is not a slight improvement. It is not a 10% increase. What is approaching your life has been accumulating for years. While you were standing in the storm, something was building behind the scenes. While you were fighting battles that seemed to have no reward, every swing of your sword was depositing something into an account you did not know existed. While you were weeping at 3 in the morning, wondering if God even heard your prayers, every tear was being collected and stored. Nothing was wasted. Not one moment of your suffering was pointless. Not 1 second of your endurance was overlooked. Every prayer you thought was ignored was actually heard with a clarity that would stagger you. The Creator does not have a junk mail folder. There is no spam filter in heaven. Every word you spoke into the darkness, every whispered request when you were too tired to pray out loud, every cry of your heart that never even made it to your lips, all of it was received. All of it was added to the accumulation building behind a dam that God is about to open. Think about a dam for a moment. A dam holds back water, not to deny the land below, but to protect it. If all the water were released at once without warning, the flood would destroy the very fields it was meant to nourish. The dam holds water until the channels are ready, until the ground has been prepared to receive the flow without being washed away. God has been holding back the flood of blessing not because you did not deserve it, and not because your prayers were insufficient. God was holding it back because the channels of your life were not yet built to carry that volume without breaking. Those channels have been under construction this whole time. Every trial you survived was a channel being dug. Every loss you endured was a channel being widened. Every disappointment you processed without giving up was a channel being deepened. And now the channels are ready. The infrastructure of your life can finally hold what God has been storing up. The volume of what has been stored is going to stun you. This is not a trickle. The dam is holding back years of accumulated blessing, years of answered prayers held in storage, until the delivery system of your life could handle the load. You thought you knew what God could do. You thought you had a reasonable understanding of divine provision, but you were measuring the ocean with a teaspoon. You were estimating the universe by looking at a single star through a pinhole. Your framework for understanding what God can deliver into a single human life has been catastrophically small. And that smallness was not your fault. It was the result of a world that taught you to think small, expect small, and be grateful for small. But God does not think small. God does not operate on the scale of your expectations. God operates on the scale of divine glory, and divine glory does not know how to be anything less than overwhelming. What has been accumulating includes things you prayed for and things you never thought to pray for. It includes answers to questions you have not yet asked, and solutions to problems you have not yet encountered. God has been building a package of blessing so comprehensive that when it arrives you will need days just to unwrap it all. You will keep discovering new dimensions of this blessing months from now, and realizing that God thought of details you never would have thought to request. This is why the command to sit is so urgent. You cannot receive something of this magnitude while you are in motion. You cannot process a transformation of this scale while your mind is distracted by old battles. You need to be seated, grounded, anchored, and still. Your body in rest, your mind in openness, your spirit in a state of readiness that only comes when you stop doing and start being. The universe has a way of preparing the ground before planting something massive. Before a redwood can grow, the forest floor must be cleared. Before a diamond can form, the earth must apply pressure for ages. Before a river can carve a canyon, water must flow over stone for an eternity. Everything magnificent in creation has a preparation phase proportional to its magnitude. Look at how long you have been waiting. Look at how deep the preparation has gone. Look at how many layers of your character have been refined, how many impurities burned away, how many weak foundations demolished and rebuilt with stronger materials. The depth of your refining is a direct indicator of the height of your elevation. You have been refined in fires hot enough to purify gold. Your body already knows something is shifting even if your mind has not caught up. You have felt it in recent days. A strange restlessness different from anxiety. A stirring in your spirit that does not match anything in your external circumstances. An inexplicable sense that something is about to happen even though every logical indicator suggests nothing has changed. That feeling is not your imagination. It is your spirit responding to the atmospheric shift that happens when God begins to move towards someone with intent to deliver. The air around your life is changing right now. The spiritual pressure is shifting. The temperature of your circumstances is about to undergo a change so dramatic that people around you will struggle to explain it. They will look at your life in 6 months and not be able to connect the dots between where you were and where you are using any rational logic. Because what is about to happen is not rational, it is supernatural. It follows the logic of heaven, not the logic of earth. And the logic of heaven says that the last shall be first, the humble shall be exalted, and the ones who sat when God said sit shall rule when God says rule. You have been carrying something invisible that the world could not see, and therefore did not value. You have been carrying faith, not the kind that performs well on a Sunday morning but crumbles by Tuesday afternoon. Not the kind that quotes verses but panics at the first sign of trouble. You have been carrying the kind of faith that survives drought, survives betrayal, survives darkness so thick it makes others question whether God exists at all. That faith was never invisible to God. It was being measured and weighed and honored every single day, even when no one on earth seemed to notice. Faith like that does not go unrewarded. It cannot. It would violate the very nature of the God who inspired it. Every ounce of faith you held during impossible seasons, every moment you chose trust when trust made no sense, every time you whispered, "I still believe," when your circumstances screamed that belief was foolish. All of it created a spiritual debt that heaven is preparing to settle. And heaven does not settle debts with minimum payments. Heaven settles in full, with interest, with additions God included, simply because generosity is not something God does. It is something God is. Here is what you need to understand about the mechanics of this moment. God has been holding this back for a reason beyond simple timing. The delay was not arbitrary. The waiting was not punishment. There is a principle in the spiritual realm that the power of a release is proportional to the length of the containment. A river dammed for a year releases more powerfully than a river dammed for a day. A spring compressed for a decade stores more energy than one compressed for a minute. You have been in containment. Your blessings have been in containment. Every year you waited added pressure to the dam. Every month of patience added volume to the reservoir. Every day of faith added force to the eventual release. You have been building the most powerful release mechanism simply by holding on, simply by not giving up, simply by refusing to walk away from a God who seemed to have gone silent. But God was never silent. God was behind the dam, building. God was in the reservoir, multiplying. Now consider why your mind and body need preparation for what is about to happen. When transformation arrives too quickly, it creates spiritual whiplash that leaves you disoriented, confused, even fearful in the midst of your own blessing. God is wiser than that. The instruction to sit is the act of a father who wants you to enjoy every dimension of what is coming. When you sit, your breathing slows, your heart rate decreases, your nervous system shifts from fight or flight to rest and receive. Your brain waves change frequency. Your muscles release tension they have been holding for months, perhaps years. All of this happens automatically when you simply obey the instruction to sit. The instruction is almost absurdly simple. Sit down. And in that simplicity is the genius of a creator who knows that the most powerful preparations are often the most basic ones. You are being prepared for something your past self could not have carried. The you of 5 years ago could not have handled what is coming. The you of 2 years ago would have been crushed by it, not because it is destructive, but because it is so good, so heavy with glory, that it requires a maturity of spirit you did not possess until now. Every hard thing you went through was building that maturity. And now you are ready, not because you feel ready. Feeling ready and being ready are two completely different things. Moses did not feel ready at the burning bush. David did not feel ready when Samuel poured oil over his head. Esther did not feel ready when told to approach the king uninvited. None of them felt ready, but all of them were ready, because God does not call people to moments they are not built for. You have been built for this moment. Every twist and turn of your story, every chapter that seemed like a mistake, and every chapter that felt like a punishment, all of it was construction. God was building something in you that is now complete enough to support the weight of what is coming. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be strong enough in the broken places to hold what is about to be placed in your hands. And you are. The instruction stands, chosen one. Sit down. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let the tension in your chest dissolve. Let the vigilance in your eyes soften. You do not need to scan the horizon for threats anymore. The only thing approaching you now is goodness. The only thing heading toward your coordinates is mercy. The only thing being dispatched from heaven with your name on the label is a blessing so complete that it will touch every area pain has touched, and it will reach deeper than the pain ever did. What has been accumulating is about to be released, and the volume will redefine your understanding of abundance. But to receive it, you must obey the simplest and perhaps most difficult command you have ever been given. Sit down. Stop striving. Stop running. Stop fighting. Sit in the authority given to you. Sit in the confidence that your seat has been reserved since before you were born. The preparation of your posture is the final step before the delivery begins, and that delivery is closer than you think. What has been stored up, what has been compounding in heavenly accounts, with your name on them, it is ready. The question is not whether it will come. The question is whether you are seated and ready to receive when it does. By the fact that you are hearing this right now, the answer is already clear. You are ready. Now sit down and prepare your heart, because what comes next will require every ounce of capacity you possess to comprehend the magnitude of what God has been storing up for you. Something is gathering behind the curtain of your life right now, and I do not mean a single blessing or one lucky break or one small shift in your circumstances. What I mean is something so much larger, so much heavier, so much more comprehensive, that if I described it to you in full detail, your first instinct would not be gratitude, it would be disbelief. Because what is coming to you is not a gift, it is a shipment. It is the accumulated weight of years of delayed provision building behind a wall you cannot see, pooling in a reservoir you did not know existed, gathering force in a place that operates outside of your calendar and beyond the reach of your patience. God has been holding things back from you, and I need you to hear that without flinching, because most people hear delay and immediately think denial. They hear waiting and assume rejection. But that is not what has been happening. What has been happening is strategic accumulation. The Creator has been deliberately collecting every single blessing that belongs to you and setting it aside, not throwing it away, setting it aside, adding to it day after day, month after month, year after year, until the collection became so massive that its release will reshape the entire landscape of your existence. There is a difference between a river and a reservoir. A river gives you water constantly, but only what it carries in that moment. You cup your hands, you drink, and the water is gone. That is how most people experience provision. A little here, a little there, enough to survive, but never enough to be transformed. A reservoir is different. A reservoir holds everything. It gathers from 100 streams, years of snowmelt from mountains you have never climbed. And it holds all of that water behind one wall, under tremendous pressure, waiting for the moment of release. Your life has been operating on the reservoir model, and you did not even know it. Every prayer you prayed that seemed to go unanswered was not lost, it was deposited. Every tear you cried in the middle of the night was not wasted. It was measured and added to the account building in your name, in a ledger that human eyes cannot read and human hands cannot access. And the interest on that account has been compounding. It is not just that God has been saving your blessings. God has been multiplying them in storage. What was deposited as a prayer for basic provision has matured into a blueprint for generational abundance. What was deposited as a cry for one relationship has matured into a network of divine connections that will reshape your entire social landscape. Think about how many prayers you have prayed in your lifetime, not just the formal ones. I am talking about the desperate ones. The ones you prayed in traffic when the weight of your life crushed you between one stoplight and the next. The ones you whispered in hospital waiting rooms. The ones you screamed into your pillow at 2 in the morning. Every single one registered. And now imagine all of those answered prayers arriving not spread across the next 20 years of your life, but compressed into a single season. That is what is about to happen. Not one blessing, not 10 blessings. The full accumulated backlog of everything heaven has been holding in reserve on your behalf. I want you to understand why this matters. The difference between distributed blessing and accumulated blessing is not just mathematical, it is transformational. If someone gave you $10 every week for a year, you would have $520 at the end. You would have spent most of it on groceries, gas, overdue bills. The money would have come and gone and you would barely remember receiving it. But if someone handed you that same amount in a single envelope on a single afternoon, your experience would be completely different. You would feel the weight of it. You would recognize it as significant. You would make decisions with it that weekly installments would never have inspired. The amount is identical. The impact is incomparable. God does not want you to spend your blessings on survival. God wants you to invest them in transformation. And that requires a delivery method that commands your attention and overwhelms your small thinking. Accumulated provision does not just change what you have. It changes who you become in response to what you have. There is a principle in agriculture that applies directly to what is happening in your life right now. A farmer does not walk into the field every morning and pick one tomato. A farmer does not harvest a single ear of corn on Monday, another on Tuesday, and a third on Wednesday. What the farmer does instead is wait. The farmer monitors the soil, checks the weather, observes the fruit as it moves through its stages, and the farmer waits until everything is ripe at the same time. Because the harvest is not about individual pieces of fruit. The harvest is about the field. The entire field, all of it, at once. God is farming your life, and right now, everything in your field is approaching ripeness simultaneously. The relationship you have been asking for is not separate from the financial breakthrough you need. The financial breakthrough is not separate from the health restoration your body is crying out for. The health restoration is not separate from the clarity of purpose that has been eluding you. They are all connected, all approaching readiness at the same time. This is why the waiting has felt so total. When everything ripens together, the period right before the harvest looks exactly like the period of greatest barrenness. The field is still, the fruit has not yet turned, and if you did not know what you were looking at, you would swear that nothing was growing at all. But underneath the surface, everything is preparing for the most explosive growth event of the entire season. Now here is where I need to shift the conversation, because what I have described so far is the blessing. The blessing is real. The blessing is coming. But the blessing is only half of the equation. The other half, the half nobody talks about, is the problem of reception. When a dam breaks, the water does not ask permission. It floods. It overwhelms. It reshapes the landscape with a force that is completely indifferent to whether you are prepared. The water does not care about your readiness. The water only knows its own momentum. And this is the part that concerns me, because I know what is coming to your life, and I also know how unprepared many of you are to receive it. Not because you are bad people, not because you lack faith, but because receiving a sudden, massive blessing requires a specific kind of internal calibration that most people have never developed. Research has consistently shown that a staggering percentage of lottery winners end up in worse financial condition within a few years than they were before they won. They received exactly what they asked for. More money than they had ever seen, arriving all at once, and it destroyed them. Not because the money was bad, not because they were cursed. They were destroyed because they were not calibrated to receive at that magnitude. Their decision-making frameworks, their emotional processing, none of it was designed to handle that volume. They received a flood when they were equipped for a faucet. Think about the people who finally got the relationship they had been praying for and then dismantled it within months. They spent years crying out for companionship, and then heaven answered. The person arrived, and within 6 months, the very person who had begged for love was pushing it away, starting arguments over nothing, manufacturing reasons to doubt what was obviously divine, or the promotions that led to collapse. People who prayed for years to be elevated, and when the position finally came, they were not because they were incapable, but because the sudden increase in responsibility activated every unresolved insecurity they had been carrying. Why does this happen? Why do chosen people sabotage chosen blessings? This is not a question of faith or spiritual maturity. This is a question of calibration, of whether the receiver is tuned to the frequency of what is being transmitted. And this is where something truly remarkable enters the conversation, something that bridges the spiritual and the scientific. Because what I am about to share with you is not mystical theory. It is measurable, documented reality that neuroscientists have been studying for decades, and it explains why so many chosen ones have struggled to hold on to the very things God placed in their hands. Your brain is divided into 2 hemispheres. You probably already know this, but the reality is far more complex than the oversimplified version suggests. The left hemisphere analyzes, calculates, evaluates risk, processes language in a linear fashion. It is the part that reads the fine print and asks hard questions before committing to belief. The right hemisphere synthesizes, sees patterns across seemingly unrelated domains, processes emotion and holistic understanding. It is the part that knows something is true before you can explain why. It is the part that feels the presence of God in a room before your left brain has finished analyzing whether the feeling is rational. In an ideal state, these 2 hemispheres would work together in perfect coordination. The right brain would receive the vision, the intuition, the expansive sense of possibility, and then pass that information seamlessly to the left brain, which would organize it into actionable steps. The creativity and the execution would be synchronized. The inspiration and the implementation would be unified. But here is what actually happens in the brains of most chosen ones. The two hemispheres are not synchronized. They are desynchronized. They are operating on different frequencies, processing information at different speeds, reaching different conclusions about the same input. And the result is an internal experience that feels exactly like war. You know this feeling. You have lived inside it. It is the experience of receiving a promise from God, knowing with absolute certainty in one half of your brain that this is real, this is yours, and then feeling the other half immediately begin to dismantle what you just received. The doubt that creeps in 30 seconds after the revelation, the anxiety that follows the peace, the fear that shadows the faith. That is not spiritual weakness. That is hemispheric desynchronization. That is your two brains fighting each other over the interpretation of what just happened. When your brain hemispheres are out of sync, the conflict affects how you process everything. When a financial blessing arrives, the right brain sees abundance and possibility. The left brain immediately calculates how it could go wrong, how you probably do not deserve it, how something this good cannot possibly last. When a relationship enters your life, the right brain feels the connection, recognizes the divine appointment. The left brain starts scanning for red flags, building exit strategies, preparing for the abandonment it has been conditioned to expect. The two halves are looking at the same event and generating opposite responses, and you are trapped in the middle. This is why chosen ones so often feel exhausted, even when nothing externally stressful is happening. The war is internal. I. Your brain is burning enormous amounts of energy fighting itself, and you experience that drain as fatigue, as confusion, as a fog that settles over your thinking and makes even simple decisions feel impossibly heavy. When neuroscientists measure the brain activity of a desynchronized person, they can see it on the scan. The two sides are literally producing different frequencies of electrical activity. One side generating beta waves associated with analytical thinking, while the other generates theta waves associated with deep creative insight. These frequencies are not compatible when fighting for dominance simultaneously. Imagine two radio stations broadcasting on frequencies that are close but not identical. What you hear is not either station clearly. What you hear is static, noise that obscures both signals. That is what is happening inside your head right now. The signal from heaven is clear. The broadcast of your blessing is strong. But the static generated by your desynchronized hemispheres is so loud that the signal gets lost between transmission and reception. This is the scientific explanation for something spiritual teachers have described for thousands of years. The concept of a divided heart, of double-mindedness, of being unstable in all your ways. The ancient traditions knew that internal division was the greatest obstacle to receiving divine provision. They did not have the vocabulary of neuroscience to explain the mechanism, but the mechanism is real. And most importantly, it is addressable. Hemispheric desynchronization is not permanent. It is not a fixed trait you are born with. It is a state, a pattern of neural activity that can be changed and resolved. Your brain is not broken. Your brain is untrained. There is an enormous difference between those two things. The reason you have struggled to hold on to blessings in the past is not because you are fundamentally flawed. It is not because God made a mistake in choosing you. The reason is that your receiver is out of tune. The equipment, your brain, is operating in a state of internal conflict that makes clean reception nearly impossible. A satellite dish pointed in the wrong direction will receive nothing, no matter how powerful the signal. A radio tuned to the wrong frequency will hear only static, no matter how beautiful the music being transmitted. The problem is never the broadcast. The problem is always the receiver. and you have been blaming yourself for not receiving clearly when the issue was never your worthiness. The issue was calibration. It is about aligning the person you already are with the frequency of what has already been sent. Consider the story of Elisha and the widow in the ancient texts. The widow came to the prophet in desperation, about to lose her sons to a creditor. She had nothing except a small jar of oil. And Elisha told her to gather vessels, empty vessels, as many as she could borrow from her neighbors. Then he told her to pour, and the oil did not stop flowing until the last vessel was filled. The miracle was not limited by the supply of oil. The miracle was limited by the number of vessels the widow had prepared to receive it. Her capacity to receive determined the magnitude of the miracle, not the willingness of God to provide. And that principle has not changed in thousands of years. Your capacity to receive is not determined by what God is willing to give. God is willing to give everything. Your capacity is determined by how many vessels you have prepared, by how calibrated your internal systems are, by whether your mind is ready to contain what is being poured. This is why so many chosen ones feel stuck right now. It is not that the blessing has not been released. The dam has already begun to crack. You have started to see small signs, synchronicities, doors opening that you did not push. These are not random coincidences. These are the first drops seeping through cracks in a dam that is about to collapse entirely. The flood is coming whether you are ready or not. The question God is asking you right now is not whether you want the blessing. God already knows you want it. You have been crying out for it for years. The question is about your capacity. Can you hold what I am about to give you? That is the question echoing through heaven regarding your life. Can your mind process what has been stored up? Can your emotional system handle simultaneous breakthrough in multiple areas? These are not rhetorical questions, they are diagnostic ones, and the answers depend entirely on the state of your internal calibration. The degree to which your analytical mind and your intuitive mind are working together instead of against each other. I want to return to the dam metaphor because there is something critical I have not addressed. When engineers build a dam, they do not just build a wall, they also build spillways. Controlled channels through which water can be released when the pressure becomes too great. The spillway is not the flood. The spillway is what prevents the flood from becoming a catastrophe. What God is asking you to develop right now, before the dam breaks fully, is your spillway, your ability to channel what is coming in a way that is productive rather than destructive, in a way that builds rather than demolishes, in a way that fills the empty places without drowning the structures you have already built. Most people do not have a spillway. The money comes and flows out in every direction because there are no channels to guide it. The relationship comes and emotional intensity floods every part of their life because there is no framework for processing that level of intimacy. The opportunity comes and they burn out because there is no system for managing the increased demand. Your spillway is your calibrated mind, your synchronized brain. When your left brain and right brain are aligned, you develop a natural capacity to receive large volumes of blessing without being overwhelmed. The right brain processes the magnitude and significance, then seamlessly transfers that information to the left brain, which organizes it and creates a structured response. Think about what happens when you pour water into a vessel with cracks. The water does not stay. It does not matter how much you pour or how desperately the vessel needs to be filled. The cracks drain it almost as fast as it flows in, and you end up right back where you started, empty, frustrated, wondering why the filling never lasts. The desynchronization between your hemispheres is the crack in your vessel. It is the gap through which your blessings have been leaking for years. Every time you received something good and watched it slip away, Every time a breakthrough evaporated before it could take root, you were not being punished. You were experiencing the natural consequence of trying to hold water in a cracked vessel. I want to speak to those of you who have drawn painful conclusions from this pattern. You have told yourself that God is withholding from you, that you are being disciplined, that there must be some hidden sin keeping your breakthroughs from lasting. But what if the explanation is not theological at all? What if it is neurological? What if the reason your blessings have not stuck is not that God took them back, but that your brain was not calibrated to hold them? That changes everything. A theological problem requires theological solutions, which are often vague. But a neurological problem requires neurological solutions, which are specific, actionable, and scientifically validated. And the moment you realize the barrier between you and sustained blessing is not mystical but mechanical, something shifts inside you. The shame lifts, the self-blame dissolves, and for the first time, you see a clear path from where you are to where God has been trying to bring you. The Most High did not design you to leak. The Most High designed you to contain. The original architecture of your brain was one of perfect hemispheric harmony. The two sides were meant to function as one unified system, seamlessly integrating analysis and intuition, logic and creativity, caution and courage. The desynchronization you experience now is not your factory setting. It is the result of years of stress, trauma, and environmental conditioning. Every time you experienced a traumatic event, and your brain had to choose between feeling the pain and analyzing the situation, your hemispheres moved further apart. Every time the world told you to stop dreaming and be practical, or to stop thinking and just feel, it was training your hemispheres to distrust each other. Over time, that distrust became the default. The war became the norm, and you forgot that your brain was ever designed to be at peace with itself. But the design is still there. Underneath the conditioning, underneath the trauma responses, underneath the habitual patterns of conflict, the original wiring remains. It has not been destroyed. It has been buried, and what is buried can be unearthed. What has been disconnected can be reconnected. This is not wishful thinking. This is neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a fixed structure carved in stone. It is a living, adaptive network that can be reshaped by the right inputs. The same brain that learned to be divided can learn to be unified. The same hemispheres that were trained to fight can be trained to cooperate. And when they do, something happens inside you that is so profound, it feels like waking up from a sleep you did not know you were in. People who have experienced hemispheric synchronization describe it in remarkably consistent terms. They talk about sudden clarity descending like a fog lifting. They describe a sense of internal unity, of being one person instead of two competing voices. They report that decisions which agonized them for weeks suddenly become obvious, that creative ideas flow with a fluency they have never known. And here is the part that connects directly to what God is doing in your life right now. People who achieve synchronization also report a dramatically enhanced ability to receive, to absorb new information without becoming overwhelmed, to hold abundance without defaulting to the fear that it will be taken away. Their vessel stops leaking, the cracks seal, and for the first time, what is poured in stays in. Imagine what that would mean for you. Imagine the financial breakthrough arriving and your brain processing it without the panic, without the impulsive spending, without the conviction that it cannot possibly last. Imagine the relationship arriving and your mind embracing it fully, without the defensive walls, without the compulsive need to test whether the other person will really stay. That is what calibration gives you, not the blessing itself, because the blessing is already determined, already pressing against the dam. with a force that will not be denied much longer. What synchronization gives you is the capacity to receive the blessing and keep it, to hold it, to steward it, to let it transform you instead of overwhelming you. The pain you have walked through was not pointless. The years of struggle were not wasted. They were building in you something that comfort could never have produced, a desperation for real answers, a willingness to look beyond surface-level spirituality, a hunger for solutions that actually work, rather than platitudes that merely comfort. The accumulation behind your dam is reaching maximum capacity. The pressure is building to a level that the structure can no longer contain. And simultaneously, you are being introduced to the mechanism by which your receiver can be calibrated. The timing of the blessing and the timing of the preparation are converging. That is not luck. That is orchestration. That is a God who refuses to let the flood arrive before the spillway is built. I know some of you are feeling a tension right now. Part of you is leaning in, desperate to know how to prepare, and part of you is pulling back, skeptical, guarded. That tension, that push and pull, that is the desynchronization I have been describing. You are feeling your two hemispheres respond differently to the same information in real time. But notice something. Despite the tension, you are still here. Despite the doubt, you have not turned this off. Something deeper than rational analysis, something that speaks in a language older than words, is telling you to stay. That something is the part of you that recognizes the frequency of truth when it encounters it. And it is stronger than the doubt, even if the doubt is louder. God is not asking you to earn what is coming. You could never earn it. The accumulation behind your dam is so vast that the concept of earning it is laughable. God is asking you to prepare for it, to calibrate, to synchronize, to repair the cracks in your vessel so that when the oil begins to pour, it does not flow out as fast as it flows in. But here is the extraordinary thing. There is a way to calibrate. There is a method, grounded in decades of neuroscience and validated by thousands of documented cases, that can bring your hemispheres into synchronization, a method that can repair the cracks, build the spillway your life has been missing, and prepare your receiver to handle the full force of what the dam has been holding back. And that is exactly what we are going to explore next. There is a moment in every journey where knowing is no longer enough, where understanding the problem, seeing it clearly, feeling it in your bones, all of that becomes secondary to one burning question. What do I do about it? You have felt that question rising in you. You have sensed that your mind has been working against itself, that the two halves of your brain have been pulling in opposite directions, like two horses trying to run different ways while yoked to the same cart. And that image alone should tell you why life has felt so exhausting lately. We talked about calibration. We talked about how the greatest blessing in the world means nothing if the vessel meant to receive it has not been prepared. God could pour out an ocean of abundance right now, this very second, and if your mind is not synchronized, if your internal receiving system is fractured, that ocean would flow right through you like water through a cracked jar. Not because you are unworthy, not because God made a mistake in choosing you, but because the instrument has not been tuned. And here is where this becomes extraordinary. What if someone already solved this problem? What if decades ago, the scientific community discovered exactly why most people struggle to receive the fullness of what life is offering them? And a researcher took that discovery and built something so simple, so accessible, that it almost feels too good to be real? But it is real, and the fact that you are hearing about it right now is not coincidence. Let me take you back to 1981. That year, a neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. This was not some obscure academic honor given to a theory that might someday prove useful. This was the Nobel Prize, the highest recognition the scientific world can bestow upon a human being. And Dr. Sperry earned it for a discovery that fundamentally changed our understanding of how the human brain works. He discovered that the two hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right, do not simply work as one unified organ. They process information in fundamentally different ways. They see the world through completely different lenses. Your left hemisphere is the analytical mind. It processes language, logic, sequences, mathematics. It is the part of you that makes lists, that calculates risk, that tries to figure things out step by step. Your right hemisphere is entirely different. It processes intuition, creativity, spatial awareness, emotion, pattern recognition. It is the part of you that dreams, that senses things before you can explain them, that feels the presence of God in a sunset without needing to articulate why. These two systems are both extraordinary, each capable of processing millions of pieces of information every second. But in most people, they are not working together. They are locked in opposition. The left brain constantly tries to override the right, dismissing its intuitions as irrational, suppressing its creative impulses as impractical, and the right brain pushes back, creating emotional surges that overwhelm rational thought, generating impulses the logical mind cannot process. This is not a metaphor. This is Nobel Prize-winning neuroscience. Most people on this planet are walking around with a brain at war with itself. Two powerful processing systems locked in a constant struggle for dominance. And the result is exactly what you have been experiencing: confusion, mental fog, the feeling of knowing what you should do but being unable to do it. That gap between your potential and your reality traces back to one neurological fact: your hemispheres are not in sync. And until they are, you are operating at a fraction of your true capacity. Think about what this means in spiritual terms. When you pray, your left brain tries to construct the right words, the proper logic, the correct theological framework. Meanwhile, your right brain tries to feel the connection, to sense the divine presence, to open a channel that goes beyond words. And these two efforts, both genuine, both well-intentioned, cancel each other out. Your prayer hits a ceiling not because God is not listening, but because the signal you are sending is fractured. It is like trying to make a phone call while two people shout different conversations into the same microphone. The message gets garbled, the connection drops, and you are left feeling like heaven is silent when heaven has been speaking all along, continuously, patiently, waiting for you to clear the static. Dr. Sperry proved that this internal conflict is not a character flaw. It is not a lack of faith. It is not a spiritual failing. It is a neurological condition affecting the vast majority of people. And it explained something spiritual leaders observed for thousands of years. The people with the deepest divine connection, the monks who meditated for hours, the prophets who heard God with crystal clarity, had achieved what Dr. Sperry identified as hemispheric synchronization. Their brains had found a way to make both sides work as one. The implications were staggering. Spiritual connection was not just about faith or discipline, it was also about neurology, the physical hardware of the brain being properly configured. The barrier between most people and their deepest spiritual potential was not moral, not divine, but biological. A barrier not placed there by God, but by the simple mechanics of how the human brain developed under the pressures of modern living. For years after Dr. Sperry received his Nobel Prize, researchers tried to find practical applications. Some developed meditation protocols that took 10 or 15 years to master. Others created neurofeedback systems requiring expensive clinical equipment and sessions at hundreds of dollars per hour. These approaches worked for those who could access them, but they were completely out of reach for the ordinary person. The single mother working 2 jobs could not commit to a 15-year meditation practice. The factory worker living paycheck to paycheck could not afford $300 an hour for clinical neurofeedback. The retired veterans struggling with fog could not travel to a specialized clinic every week. The very people who needed hemispheric synchronization the most were the ones least able to access it. The solution existed in theory. The proof existed in laboratory data and academic journals that ordinary people would never read. But for everyday people living everyday lives, the breakthrough might as well have been locked in a vault on the other side of the planet. The key to unlocking their full potential was real, scientifically validated, and completely beyond their reach. Then something changed. A researcher named Dr. Daniel Barone looked at all this science, all this potential, all these barriers, and asked a question no one else had thought to ask. What if the solution did not require years of practice or expensive equipment? What if the human brain could be guided into synchronization through precisely calibrated audio frequencies designed to communicate directly with both hemispheres simultaneously? Not just any sound, but frequencies engineered with mathematical precision to speak to each hemisphere in its own language, gently guiding them from opposition into alignment. What if the most profound neurological shift a person could experience could be delivered through a pair of ordinary headphones in a matter of minutes? Dr. Barone spent years developing what he called neural sync technology. The concept was elegantly simple, even though the science was extraordinarily complex. Different audio frequencies resonate with different areas of the brain. By layering specific frequencies in a precise mathematical relationship, it is possible to create an audio experience that both hemispheres respond to at the same time. Not competing, not trying to override each other, but gradually, naturally, effortlessly falling into synchronization. Think of 2 pendulum clocks mounted on the same wall that eventually begin swinging in perfect unison. No one forces them. The shared vibration naturally draws them into harmony. That is what neural sync technology does inside your brain. It creates a shared vibrational foundation that both hemispheres naturally align with, ending the internal war without forcing either side to surrender. What makes this remarkable is not just what it does, but how quickly. 8 minutes. That is all it takes. 8 minutes of listening to a precisely engineered audio track, and your hemispheres begin to synchronize. Think about how long 8 minutes actually is. Less time than brewing a pot of coffee and drinking the first cup. Less time than your morning commute. Less time than scrolling through messages you have already read. And yet in those 8 minutes, something profound begins happening. The neural pathways firing in opposition find common ground. The electrical signals creating static begin to harmonize. It is not dramatic like the movies portray. No lightning bolt, no flash of white light. Instead, it is like stepping outside on a foggy morning when the sun begins burning through the mist. Gradually, gently, the world becomes clearer, and you realize, with a quiet shock, that the fog you had been living in was so constant, so pervasive, that you had stopped noticing it was there. You had accepted the fog as normal. You had mistaken impaired vision for clear sight because you had forgotten what clear sight actually looked like. The moment you understand that what you thought was normal was actually diminished, the entire trajectory of your life begins to change. That is what hemispheric synchronization feels like. People who experience it for the first time almost universally describe the same sensation. It is not that something was added to their mind. It is that something was removed. The noise, the static, the constant low-level hum of internal conflict they had mistaken for normal thinking. When that noise drops away, what remains is stunning. Clarity so sharp it almost hurts. Focus so intense that time seems to slow down. And a feeling of connection, of being fully present in your own life, that many people say they have not felt since childhood. Think about what it felt like to be a child, before the world taught you to doubt yourself, before experience taught you to fear, before disappointment taught you to guard your heart. There was a time when you could hear the whisper of something greater without your logical mind stepping in to explain it away. That capacity for wonder never left you. It was drowned out by the noise of two hemispheres fighting for control. Imagine what it would mean if that noise went quiet. Imagine sitting down to pray and truly feeling God's presence without your analytical mind interrupting with doubts. Imagine having an intuition and trusting it fully because both sides of your brain are finally speaking the same language. Imagine the flood of blessing heading your way, arriving at a mind fully prepared to receive it. This is not fantasy. This is neuroscience applied to spiritual preparation. And the people who have experienced it have stories that will make the hairs on your arms stand up. Ordinary people, not celebrities, not monks, not spiritual gurus, whose entire existence shifted in ways they never imagined. Not because the world around them changed, but because the world inside them finally aligned. There was a woman in California, a nurse. She had spent 12 years working the night shift at a hospital in Sacramento, 12 years of disrupted sleep, of life and death decisions under fluorescent lights at 3 in the morning, of pouring herself into caring for others while her own mind slowly deteriorated under chronic exhaustion. She described her mental state as a permanent fog, like trying to think through cotton wool. Every thought required enormous effort. Every decision felt heavy. She prayed every night before her shift, asking God for clarity, for guidance, for strength. But she said it felt like her prayers were hitting a ceiling. The words went up, but nothing came back down. She was not angry at God. She was just tired. Bone tired in a way that sleep alone could not fix. A tiredness that had seeped beyond her body into her very spirit. She tried meditation apps, sleep supplements, guided relaxation programs. Nothing cut through the fog. She had accepted, reluctantly, that this was simply what her life would feel like. The fog was permanent. The ceiling above her prayers was made of something she could not break through. She was resigned to a diminished existence not because she lacked faith, but because she lacked a tool that could reach the actual problem. Then a friend mentioned this 8-minute audio. She was skeptical, deeply skeptical, the way medical professionals often are when someone suggests a simple answer to a complex problem. Her training taught her to distrust easy solutions, but she was desperate enough to try. One night before her shift, she sat in her car in the hospital parking lot, put in her earbuds, and pressed play. She gave herself 8 minutes. If nothing happened, she would delete it forever. What she described next still gives me chills. Around the 5-minute mark, something shifted. Not dramatic, not a bolt of lightning, more like someone gently lifted a veil she had not known was there. Colors looked different. Sounds seemed clearer. When she walked into the hospital that night, her mind felt like a still pond for the first time in years. Not empty, not blank, but calm, organized, ready. She described it as the difference between looking through a dirty windshield you have gotten used to and suddenly having someone clean it. The world was the same. But her ability to see it clearly had been restored. She used the audio every night for 2 weeks, and during those weeks, something remarkable happened beyond mental clarity. Opportunities she had been praying about for years began appearing. A day shift position opened that she had requested for over a decade. A colleague mentioned a certification program that would increase her salary by 30%. A conversation with a patient family member led to a connection that changed her career trajectory. These opportunities did not materialize out of thin air. The day shift position had been developing for months. The certification program existed for years. What changed was not the external world. What changed was her ability to perceive it. With her hemispheres synchronized, with the fog lifted and the ceiling shattered, she could see what God had been placing in front of her all along. The blessings were always there. She just had not been calibrated to receive them. Her story is not about luck or timing. It is about a woman whose receiver was finally tuned to the frequency God had been broadcasting on. And then there was a man from Houston, Texas. His story is different in almost every way, but the pattern is identical. He was a creative professional who had spent his career relying on the flow of ideas, on that mysterious wellspring of inspiration every artist knows intimately. For years, that flow was abundant. Ideas came effortlessly, sometimes so fast he could barely capture them all. He described it as standing under a waterfall of creative energy, drenched in possibility. But over 3 years, the flow slowed. The waterfall became a stream, the stream became a trickle, and the trickle dried up entirely. He described it as being locked in a room he used to know how to escape from. Every door he once walked through effortlessly was now sealed shut. He could remember what creative flow felt like, could almost taste it, but could not access it. He changed routines, traveled to new places, read books on creativity. Nothing worked. The block was total and absolute. The worst part was not the block itself. The worst part was the silence. He had always felt his creative ideas came from beyond himself, gifts channeled from a source he could not name but always felt. When the flow stopped, that connection vanished. He felt cut off, abandoned. He did not use the word God, but the anguish in his voice was unmistakably spiritual. He was mourning a divine connection that had defined his entire identity and purpose. Someone mentioned the 8-minute audio. He was desperate and willing to try anything. He used it that same evening, sitting in his studio, surrounded by half-finished projects and blank canvases. He described those 8 minutes as the strangest experience of his life. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because of how natural it felt, like remembering how to ride a bicycle after years away from one. His mind did not do anything new. It remembered how to do something it had always known. The analytical left that structured ideas and the creative right that generated them stopped fighting and started collaborating. He did not create anything that first night. He did not need to. What he needed was the feeling, that sense of connection returning like a phone line crackling back to life after a long, dead silence. He sat in his studio for an hour after, not working, just feeling something he thought was gone, forever flowing back into his consciousness, like water finding its way into a riverbed dry for years. Over the next week, using the audio each morning, the flow increased daily. Ideas appeared not as a trickle but as a torrent. Stalled projects had clear paths to completion. New concepts arrived fully formed. Within a month, he completed more creative work than in the previous 2 years. The quality was different, deeper, more connected to that mysterious source he feared was lost. He said the drought served a purpose he could not see at the time. It was a necessary recalibration during which the universe prepared something far greater. He just needed to be calibrated to receive it. Do you see the pattern? 2 completely different people, different cities, different careers, different struggles, the same underlying problem and the same remarkable solution. Their hemispheres were out of sync, and as long as that division persisted, they could not fully receive what was being offered. The nurse could not see opportunities God placed in her path. The creative could not access inspiration trying to reach him, not because those blessings were absent, but because the receiving instrument was not calibrated. And here is where this becomes deeply personal for you. More than 18,000 people have already used this technology to synchronize their hemispheres and prepare their minds. 18,000 journeys from static to clarity, from fog to focus, from divided to unified. And now you are hearing about it at this exact moment in your life. Ask yourself, why? Why now? Why today? You could have heard about this a year ago or 5 years ago, but you did not. You heard about it today. And if you have been paying attention, you know the timing of spiritual events is never random. God does not operate on accident. You are hearing about this now because you need it now, because something is coming that requires you to be calibrated, and the window for preparation is not unlimited. This is what the chosen ones understand. When God sends a tool of preparation, it arrives before the blessing, not after. The ark was built before the flood. The walls of Jericho were circled before they fell. Preparation always precedes manifestation. Right now, the tool of preparation is being placed in front of you, not because you went looking for it, but because it was sent to you deliberately with divine precision. The genius switch is not a magic solution. It is not a shortcut around faith. It is a calibration tool built on Nobel Prize-winning science, designed to synchronize your brain hemispheres so that when the blessing arrives, you are ready. Your mind is clear. Your perception is sharp. Your ability to recognize opportunity, to act on divine guidance, to receive with both hands what God is pouring out, all of it maximized. Think about it this way. If you knew a massive rainstorm was coming, enough water to fill every reservoir and end every drought, would you leave your buckets upside down? Would you leave your cisterns cracked? Of course not. You would prepare every container to catch every drop. You would repair every crack, open every window, and stand in the rain with your face turned to the sky. That is what calibration does. It turns your buckets right side up. It seals the cracks. It opens the windows of your mind that have been boarded shut by years of hemispheric conflict. And it does this not through weeks of effort, but through 8 minutes of precisely engineered audio that speaks directly to both hemispheres in a language they both understand. People who have used this tool describe the experience with remarkable consistency, a quieting, not of the world around them, but of the world within. The argument between logic and intuition goes silent. The tug of war between doubt and faith releases. The mental static, making it impossible to hear divine guidance, dissolves like morning fog under a rising sun. And in that quietness, they begin hearing what they have missed for years. Nudges, whispers, the soft, persistent voice of God that has been speaking all along. God has been speaking to you, not occasionally, constantly. A continuous stream of guidance flowing toward you with the persistence of a river seeking the ocean. The only barrier is the noise created by two hemispheres that never learn to work together. That is not a moral failing. It is a neurological reality that Nobel Prize science identified over 4 decades ago and that modern technology now solves. A solution taking 8 minutes, available right now through the link in the description below. But I want to be clear about something important. This tool is not the blessing itself. The genius switch is the preparation for the blessing. It is the tuning fork that brings your instrument into harmony before the concert begins. The concert, the flood of abundance heading your way, comes from God. What this tool does is make sure that when it arrives, you are ready, that your hemispheres work together, that the receiving dish of your consciousness points directly at the signal God has been broadcasting. The blessing coming for you is not a small thing, not a minor adjustment. What is heading toward you will redefine every aspect of your life. Your finances, your relationships, your health, your purpose. All of it is about to shift in ways that your current, unsynchronized mind may not be equipped to handle. That is not criticism. That is reality, and it is why preparation is essential. The chosen ones who receive the fullness of their blessing are those who took time to calibrate, who recognized that receiving is not passive. You do not sit with your hands in your lap waiting for abundance without preparation. Receiving is active. It requires a clear mind, synchronized hemispheres, internal unity that only comes when the war between left brain and right brain has finally ended. Consider the stories. The nurse did not stumble into a better life by accident. She took 8 minutes to calibrate and positioned herself to see opportunities invisible for years. The creative did not wake up with flow restored by chance. He used the audio every morning and reopened a channel blocked by hemispheric conflict. In both cases, the blessing was already there. What changed was their ability to perceive and receive it. Now, ask yourself honestly, can you afford not to be calibrated when your moment arrives? Can you afford to let the biggest blessing of your life pass through you because your mind was too divided to hold it? The answer is no. Not now. Not when everything you have been through has been preparing you for what is about to arrive. The link is in the description below. 8 minutes is all it asks. And here is what makes this even more remarkable. When you hear about Nobel Prize science and brain synchronization technology, your mind probably goes to a certain assumption about cost. You probably assume that something this powerful, this scientifically grounded, must be expensive, that it costs hundreds or thousands of dollars, that it is reserved for the privileged few who can afford cutting-edge neuroscience. But that is not how God operates when something is meant for the chosen ones. When a tool of preparation is divinely orchestrated to reach those who need it most, the barriers that normally keep powerful things out of reach dissolve. The walls come down. The gates swing open. And what you are about to learn about the accessibility of this tool may be the most stunning confirmation yet that everything we have discussed is a living, divinely orchestrated reality unfolding in your life right now for a reason that will soon become crystal clear. There is a question that has been forming in the silence of your spirit, and it is time to bring it into the open. You have heard the science. You have felt the resonance of the research. You have recognized yourself in the patterns we have been describing, the blocked potential, the hemispheric disconnect, the static drowning out the signal your life was meant to receive. And now the practical voice is asking what this costs. What does it take to access this calibration? What is the investment required to step into the alignment that changes everything? And that is the right question to ask. Not because money is the measure of transformation, but because the way you invest in yourself reveals what you believe about your own future. Every dollar directed toward your preparation is a declaration of intent. It is your spirit putting a stake in the ground and saying, I believe what is coming is worth getting ready for. I believe the breakthrough is real, and I respect it enough to meet it prepared. So let us look honestly at what exists in the world right now for people who want to achieve what we have been describing. The contrast matters deeply, and once you see it clearly, what is being offered today will take on a dimension that goes beyond bargain. It will start to look like something that was orchestrated, like Providence wearing the disguise of a price tag. Professional neurofeedback, the clinical-grade version that athletes and executives and peak performers use to optimize their cognitive architecture, costs $300 per hour. That is the standard rate at reputable clinics across the United States and Europe. You sit in a chair. Electrodes are placed on your scalp. A trained technician monitors your brainwave patterns on a screen. For 60 minutes, the machine provides biofeedback designed to help your brain learn new patterns of hemispheric communication. $300 for a single hour of guided neural training. And that is just the beginning of the financial reality facing anyone seeking this kind of cognitive optimization through conventional channels. Here is the part most people do not realize until they are already committed. One session is not enough. A single neurofeedback session is like one day at the gym after years of inactivity. It introduces the possibility of change, but it does not create lasting transformation. The brain needs repetition to internalize new patterns. A typical protocol requires a minimum of 10 sessions. Many practitioners recommend 20 or 30 for the kind of deep synchronization that produces permanent cognitive shifts. That means a standard treatment plan starts at $3,000 and can climb to $9,000, depending on the practitioner and the complexity of the protocol. $3,000 at the absolute minimum, spread across weeks or months of appointments. And even after all those sessions and all that financial commitment, the results take additional weeks to manifest. You do not walk out of session 1 with a synchronized brain. You walk out with a receipt and a follow-up appointment. There are alternatives the market has produced. Brain training applications promise sharper thinking, better memory, and faster processing speed. They charge $15 to $20 per month, which sounds modest until you calculate the annual cost. That is $180 to $240 per year. And what do they deliver in exchange for that ongoing investment? Puzzles, pattern, matching games, memory exercises that give you the dopamine hit of completing a level, but barely scratch the surface of actual hemispheric synchronization. Those apps train your conscious mind to perform specific tricks within narrow contexts. They are not rewiring how your hemispheres communicate at the foundational level. They are not dissolving the barrier between analytical processing and intuitive knowing. They are putting a fresh coat of paint on a house with a cracked foundation and calling it renovation. The walls still groan, the floors still slope, but the paint is new and the app gives you a streak count, so it feels like progress while the real structural problem remains untouched. So when we talk about the real investment required for genuine neural synchronization, the kind backed by decades of peer-reviewed research and Nobel Prize-winning science, the market has spoken clearly. Thousands of dollars for the clinical approach spread across months. Hundreds per year for apps that do not even address the correct underlying problem. Those are the conventional options available to anyone searching for cognitive transformation. And neither one delivers what an 8-minute audio session built on neural sync technology delivers. Neither the $3,000 clinic nor the $200 app achieves what this specific configuration of frequencies achieves in under 10 minutes. When the right frequencies are delivered in the right sequence, hemispheric synchronization is not gradual, it is an activation. Like flipping a switch that has been stuck in the off position for years, and suddenly the current flows and the lights come on in rooms you forgot your house contained. Dr. Daniel Barone understood this disparity from the inside because he lived within the research that produced the findings. He saw the gap between what was scientifically possible and what was commercially available, and he recognized it as more than a market inefficiency. He recognized it as an injustice that kept the most powerful tools in the hands of the few, while the many continued to struggle with fragmented minds and unrealized potential. And he made a decision, I believe, was divinely influenced. He decided that the people who needed this most should not be the people who could least afford it. If God was going to pour out abundance on a generation, the tool for receiving it should be available to that generation without financial gatekeeping or economic discrimination. The retail price was set at $49. $49 for technology built on Nobel Prize-winning neuroscience that delivers measurable hemispheric synchronization in 8 minutes. $49 compared to $3,000 for clinical neurofeedback that takes months. compared to $200 a year for apps that target the wrong mechanism entirely. That was already a radical act of generosity, already priced at a fraction of what comparable interventions cost in any other format. But that is not what it costs today. Right now, through the link in the description below, the complete program is available for $39. $39. Let that number settle into your awareness. Do not rush past it the way you rush past price tags on things that do not matter. This matters more than most things you have ever considered purchasing. Let it land in the same space where you have been carrying the weight of all those years of blockage and unanswered prayer. Let it sit next to the magnitude of what we have been discussing, the dam, the accumulation, the breakthrough bearing down on your life. You spend more than $39 on a single meal at a restaurant, a meal that satisfies for a few hours and is forgotten by the next morning. The taste fades, the fullness passes. By noon the following day, you cannot remember what you ordered, but the money is gone, absorbed into routine consumption without a trace of lasting change. You spend more than that on a streaming subscription you open twice a month, scrolling through options and settling for something you half-watch before falling asleep on the couch. You spend more than that on a tank of gas burned through by Friday, carrying you to the same familiar locations while the real destination of your life remains uncalibrated and unreached. Those expenditures disappear into the rhythm of weekly spending without leaving any residue of transformation. But this is not another disappearing expense. This is investment. This is the difference between spending money on things that evaporate and directing resources towards something that permanently changes the instrument through which you receive everything else. Think about the asymmetry of that exchange. On one side, $39, the same amount you leave as a tip without a second thought. On the other side, the complete calibration of your neural architecture to receive what may be the single largest spiritual and material blessing of your entire existence on this earth. That is not a transaction in any ordinary sense. That is a divine invitation disguised as a price tag. The universe asking you a question, and the question is not about your bank account. The question is about your seriousness. How committed are you to the preparation? How ready are you to match action to belief? Because $39 is a threshold virtually anyone can cross. It was designed that way because preparation for blessing was never meant to be a barrier. It was always meant to be a bridge. I need you to understand something about divine provision that most people miss entirely. When God orchestrates a solution, it carries the signature of grace. It does not arrive gated behind barriers. Only the prosperous can navigate. It comes at a price that makes you pause, not because it is too high, but because it seems impossibly accessible for what it delivers. That tension you feel, that flicker whispering this seems too good, is not skepticism. That is your spirit recognizing the fingerprint of divine orchestration. When something is truly arranged by forces beyond market logic, it carries that quality of scandalous generosity. The blessing always outweighs the requirement by a margin that defies conventional accounting. That disproportion is not an error in the equation. It is the whole point of grace. 18,456 people have already recognized that fingerprint and responded to it. They stood in the exact position you occupy right now. They heard the science. They felt the resonance. They experienced that same suspended disbelief where the mind tries to reconcile the simplicity of access with the enormity of the promise. And then they decided. They stepped across the threshold. They exchanged $39 for the calibration of a lifetime. Their testimonies are arriving with a consistency that no placebo or coincidence can explain. But $39 is not even the complete picture of what is being offered, because Dr. Barone did something that goes beyond standard generosity. beyond anything the competitive landscape would require or even suggest. When you access the Genius Switch today through the link below, you do not just receive the core 8-minute audio, you also receive 4 additional bonus tools completely free. 4 separate resources, each designed to accelerate and deepen the synchronization from a different angle. These are not afterthoughts tossed in to pad the package. These are complete, fully developed tools that could each be sold as standalone products at their own price points. 4 pathways into the state of calibration your brain has been locked out of for years. Each one approaching synchronization from a different vector, reinforcing and amplifying the foundational changes, so the transformation is not just activated, but sustained and deepened over time. Dr. Barone included these because he built this for someone who senses that something massive is approaching and intends to receive it at full capacity, holding nothing back. That is the profile of someone who engages with every available resource, every bonus, every accelerant. Someone who understands that when divine provision shows up with abundance, you do not take the minimum offering and retreat to safety. You receive everything being extended. You open your arms as wide as the blessing. So the totality of what $39 unlocks is this. The core 8-minute neural sync technology audio built on Nobel Prize-winning science, plus 4 complete bonus tools, each designed to accelerate your transformation from a unique angle. All of that combined for less than a pizza dinner, for less than your last tank of gas, for less than the monthly subscription you keep meaning to cancel. And yet, I know there is still a whisper, a small voice in the background that says, what if it does not work for me? What if my brain is the exception to the science? I hear that voice because it is human, and it lives inside every one of us when we stand at the edge of significant change. Dr. Barone heard it too, which is why what I am about to tell you should dissolve every remaining trace of doubt like sunlight burning through morning fog. There is a complete money-back guarantee, full, unconditional, without exception or asterisk or hidden condition. If you try this and it does not resonate, if you do not feel the shift, if you do not experience the calibration we have been describing, you get every single penny back, not most of it, not a partial credit. Every penny, all $39, returned as if the transaction never took place at all. No questions asked. There is no interrogation about why you want a refund. No guilt trip designed to make you reconsider. No bureaucratic process requiring justification through multiple levels of customer service. You simply request a refund and you receive one. Clean, simple, complete. The entire financial risk is removed from the equation. Think about what that means from the standpoint of pure logic. Set aside the spiritual dimension for a moment and examine the raw mathematics. You have exactly 2 possible outcomes, and both of them work in your favor. In outcome 1, the program works exactly as the science predicts. Your hemispheres synchronize, the static dissolves, the receiver calibrates to the frequency it was designed for. You step into the fullness of every blocked blessing building behind the dam. Your finances shift. Your relationships transform. Your creative capacity expands into territory you did not know existed. And $39 becomes the most disproportionately brilliant investment you have ever made in your entire life. In outcome 2, it does not resonate with your particular situation. You request a refund through the simple process. You receive $39 back in full. You stand in exactly the same position you occupied before, minus only 8 minutes of your time. You have risked nothing, sacrificed nothing, lost nothing at all. There is no outcome 3, no hidden scenario where you emerge diminished, no fine print activating a cost you did not anticipate. You either experience the transformation of a lifetime, or you pay nothing. That is not a sales tactic cleverly designed to overcome objections. That is a guarantee built by someone whose confidence in the neuroscience is so complete that he stakes his entire professional reputation on it without hesitation. And here is the spiritual truth beneath the guarantee. When God orchestrates provision, it does not arrive wrapped in traps or concealed conditions. Divine provision is clean. It is transparent. It is structured, so the person receiving it can move forward without fear. That guarantee mirrors the character of the one behind this entire sequence. The God who has been accumulating blessings behind the dam does not operate through anxiety. He operates through grace and generous invitation. So let us remove hesitation from this equation with finality. Hesitation is the language of the old operating system, the fragmented one where left brain and right brain spoke different languages and produced internal civil war instead of unified direction. Hesitation is what happens when the analytical hemisphere cannot reconcile the magnitude of an opportunity with the simplicity of accessing it. Your left brain says this is too accessible to be real. Your right brain, your intuitive center, says this is exactly what you have been sensing on the horizon for months. In the gap between those conflicting signals, hesitation lives and feeds. But that gap is precisely what the program resolves. The tool that would end your hesitation is the very thing you are hesitating to access. The technology that synchronizes conflicting signals waits on the other side of the decision your conflicted signals are making difficult. This is why the moment of action matters, not because action should be impulsive, but because sometimes breakthrough requires moving before the internal conflict resolves on its own terms. Sometimes the bridge appears only when your foot is already in the air. Sometimes faith is not the absence of uncertainty, but the willingness to move in its presence, trusting that the ground will rise to meet your step. Now let me reframe this entire conversation through a lens I believe will land in the deepest chamber of your understanding. If someone you trusted completely came to you today and said with unshakable certainty, the single most important meeting of your entire life is happening tomorrow, what would you do with the remaining hours? The meeting that determines your financial trajectory for the next decade, that shapes the legacy you leave your children, that opens or permanently closes the door on your creative destiny and spiritual authority. One meeting, tomorrow, everything riding on it. Would you show up unprepared? Would you roll out of bed 5 minutes before, grab whatever wrinkled clothes were on the floor, and stumble into that room with a foggy mind and unfocused eyes? Would you leave the most consequential moment of your existence to chance, hoping scattered thoughts would organize themselves spontaneously at the exact moment you needed them most? Of course not. You would prepare fiercely, deliberately, with focused intention. You would lay out your clothes the night before, set multiple alarms, eat for clarity, not comfort. Review every relevant detail. You would do everything in your power to ensure that when you walked through that door, you were the highest version of yourself, not the default, not the autopilot, the fully calibrated version that only emerges when the stakes demand it. Preparation is not anxiety wearing a productive disguise. Preparation is respect, reverence for the magnitude of the approaching moment, acknowledgement that the opportunity deserves to encounter the best version of you, not the scattered approximation that shows up when the mind has been left to operate on default settings. Here is the truth I need you to hold with both hands. The meeting is not tomorrow, it is closer than that. The dam, holding back years of accumulated blessing, is not developing fractures that might breach next year. The pressure has reached the critical threshold. Your timeline of preparation has converged with the divine calendar of release. Every sign, every pattern, every marker points to an imminent breakthrough that is not theoretical. It is operational. It is active. It is approaching at a velocity that will make the last decade of waiting look like a loading screen before the main event. The question that defines how you receive that breakthrough is not whether it is coming. The question is whether your mind is calibrated to hold what arrives. Whether the receiving instrument is tuned to the correct frequency, whether the vessel has been prepared for the volume of what is about to be poured into your life. You have witnessed this pattern in others, and it has always troubled you. People who receive a sudden windfall and lose it within months. People who stumble into an extraordinary opportunity and cannot sustain the momentum required to walk through it. People handed everything they prayed for, watching helplessly as it slips through their fingers like water through a sieve. You have always wondered why breakthrough comes and goes for some people, why blessing arrives at the front door but refuses to stay. Now, you know the answer. The receiving instrument was not calibrated before the blessing arrived. The synchronization was not in place. The mind was operating on fragmented signals, and when the fullness of blessing hit that fragmented system, it could not maintain coherence, not because God made an error in delivery, but because the vessel was not prepared for the volume of what was being poured. You are not going to be that person. Not after everything you have learned during this message. You are not going to stand at the threshold of your greatest breakthrough with an uncalibrated mind and hope for the best. You are not going to watch the dam break and realize too late that your receiver was tuned to static while the frequency of blessing played on a channel you could not access. Not because you could not afford $39, not because the science was hidden from you. It reached you today, right now. This is your preparation. Not a luxury, not an optional enhancement. This is the essential calibration standing between who you are and who you need to be when the dam gives way. And the preparation costs less than your last meal at a restaurant. The barrier between you and calibration is not financial, intellectual, or spiritual. It is decisional. It is the thin membrane between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it. Between hearing the call and answering with your feet instead of just your feelings. Every person who has ever missed a divine appointment missed it not because the door was locked. They missed it because they stood before a wide-open door and conducted an internal debate about whether walking through was the wise thing to do. They had the key in their hand. They had the invitation. They had the address, the time, the assurance that something extraordinary waited on the other side. They had everything except the willingness to move their feet across the threshold at the moment when it was available for crossing. I do not believe that describes you. I do not believe you have traveled this far through the neuroscience and the revelation only to stop here. Only to pause at the exact threshold where preparation meets opportunity, meets guarantee, meets accessibility, and decide that $39.08 is too steep an investment in the rest of your life. The link is in the description below. The program is available right now. The money-back guarantee eliminates every particle of risk. The 4 bonus tools amplify and sustain the transformation. And the price is so accessible it almost seems like a divine test, not of your wallet, but of your willingness to believe that something this simple could genuinely be the catalyst for the largest shift your life has ever known. Pass the test. Not for me, not for Dr. Barone, for the version of yourself waiting on the other side of calibration with a patience that mirrors the patience of the one who designed you. For the future, you have been sensing in fragments but could never fully see, because the instrument of perception was still out of tune. For the blessing that has been pressing against the dam for years and is now bearing down on the final barrier with a force that nothing can contain for very much longer. Your move is one step, one click, one singular decision that draws a permanent line between who you have been and who you are about to become. On the other side is not incremental improvement. On the other side is everything that has been held in reserve, released in a torrent that does not modify a human story, but rewrites it completely from this chapter forward. That is not exaggeration. That is the lived testimony of more than 18,000 people who faced this same crossroads, felt this same mixture of hesitation and hope, and then moved, who stepped forward, who crossed the line their fear told them to respect, whose lives now divide cleanly into two unmistakable categories, before calibration and after. Yours is about to divide along that identical line. Take the step. Access the genius switch through the link in the description below. Begin the 8-minute calibration your divided hemispheres have been waiting for since before you knew they were divided. And prepare your receiving instrument for the blessing that is no longer approaching from a safe distance. It is here. It is pressing against the last remaining wall, and that wall is about to give way. And now, as the preparation takes root, let us turn to what unfolds in the aftermath. There is a specific window in the first 72 hours after calibration that you need to understand before it arrives. Shifts will begin to manifest with a speed and specificity that will leave you questioning whether the universe has been counting down to this moment as long as you have. What God has stored for you extends beyond what your uncalibrated mind has been able to imagine. And that ceiling on your imagination is about to be lifted permanently. Something is about to happen that you have never experienced before. Not because life has never been good to you, not because you have never tasted relief or a moment of grace, but because what is coming in the next 72 hours is not a moment. It is a permanent restructuring of the landscape of your life. Picture a dam, not a small barrier holding back a creek. A wall of concrete rising hundreds of feet into the sky, holding back an ocean of water that has been accumulating for years. Every prayer you have prayed, every tear you have cried when no one was watching, every night you stayed faithful when betrayal would have been easier, all of it has been filling the reservoir behind this dam. And the water level has been rising past the markers that said, this is enough, rising past every expectation, rising until the pressure against that wall became something that no human structure could contain. And now, the first crack has appeared. Not a dramatic explosion, just a thin line in the concrete, barely visible to the naked eye. But that crack is everything. Because water is patient and water is persistent, and water will find every fracture, every opening, and it will push through with a force that turns hairline fractures into gaping channels. That first crack is the phone call you are about to receive, the one from a number you do not recognize, with an offer you did not apply for. Someone is going to say your name in a room you have never entered, and the words that follow your name will be words like opportunity and provision. And we have been looking for someone exactly like you. The second crack is the email. It arrives quietly, slipping into your inbox between the newsletters you never read and the notifications you always dismiss. But this email is from a name you have not seen in years. Someone who drifted out of your orbit, someone you assumed had forgotten you existed. They do not know about your prayer. They do not know about your need. But God knows about both. And God has been stirring memories of you in their hearts. The third crack is the conversation. You are standing in line somewhere ordinary, a grocery store, a coffee shop. The person next to you says something casual, something that would mean nothing to anyone else. But to you, that casual comment lands like a key sliding into a lock you have been trying to pick for months. Suddenly, the decision you have been agonizing over becomes crystal clear. God used an ordinary moment to deliver an extraordinary revelation. And this is just the first 24 hours. By hour 36, the cracks have multiplied beyond counting, and the dam is no longer holding. The water is not seeping anymore, it is surging. It is roaring through openings that are widening by the minute. You can feel it in the way doors that were bolted shut suddenly swing open as if they were never locked at all. Picture the territory below the dam. This is your life as it has been. Dry valleys where your finances used to flow before the drought came. Cracked riverbeds where your relationships used to run deep before disappointment baked the mud into broken patterns. Parched fields where your creativity once bloomed wild before the long winter of waiting froze everything into dormancy. But water has a memory, and the river that is now being released remembers every curve, every channel, every tributary it once carved through your life. It remembers where your joy used to pool on Saturday mornings. It remembers where your peace used to meander through your afternoons. It remembers where your confidence used to cascade over the challenges that once seemed impossible. The financial valley is the first to flood. The water reaches the lowest point first, because that is what water does. It finds the deepest need and fills it before anything else. That unexpected check arrives, and it is not a small amount. It is a number that makes you count the zeros twice because your eyes cannot believe what your hands are holding. The business idea that has been floating around the edges of your mind suddenly crystallizes into something so clear and compelling that you wonder how you did not see it before. The promotion comes through, and the salary is not an incremental increase. It is a leap, the kind of number that changes the way you think about the next 5 years of your life. And that debt, the one that has been sitting on your shoulders like a physical weight, the one that wakes you at 3 in the morning, that debt gets resolved in a way you could never have engineered yourself. A door opens that you did not even know was a door. A provision appears that does not follow the normal rules of how money works. And even as the financial valley is filling, the water is already pushing into the cracked riverbeds of your relationships. The person you have been praying would change suddenly calls you with a voice you have not heard them use in years. A soft voice, a real voice. A voice that says, "I have been thinking, and I am sorry, and I want to try again." Something dead is being resurrected right in front of you. But it does not stop with one relationship. This is not a trickle. This is a flood. The connection you need for your next season, the mentor, the partner, the collaborator who understands the specific calling on your life. That person appears as if God delivered them to your doorstep today. And alongside that new connection, a community begins to form around you. People who see what you see. People who burn with the same fire. Now lift your eyes higher. Look past the valleys and the riverbeds to the parched fields on the hillsides. Your health is one of those fields. Your creativity is another. Your spiritual clarity is a third. And the rain is coming. Not a gentle drizzle that dampens the surface but never reaches the roots. This is the kind of rain the old farmers talked about with reverence. Now, I need to tell you about the constellation. This is not just a word, it is a map. It is a revelation that is going to rewrite the way you understand your entire history. Store it somewhere safe in your spirit, because in the days ahead, you are going to need it. Imagine that every blessing God has planned for you is a star. Every opportunity is a point of light in your sky. Every connection, every breakthrough, every provision, every healing, each one is a star. Right now, if you look up, you see those stars scattered everywhere, random, disconnected. The star of that job opportunity in the east, completely unrelated to the star of that relationship healing in the west. Financial provision in the north, with no visible connection to creative breakthrough in the south. But here is what is about to happen. In the next 72 hours, those stars are going to move, not with the streaking of a shooting star, but with the slow, deliberate precision of celestial alignment. The star of the job drifts toward the star of the relocation. The relocation drifts toward the relationship. The relationship drifts toward the calling. And line by line, point by point, light by light, a pattern emerges in your sky that takes your breath away. You are going to see how the job you did not get in 2021 was not a rejection, but a redirection. If you had taken it, you would have been in the wrong city when the person you are about to meet walks into your life. The relationship that ended in 2022 was not a punishment, but a preparation. The financial loss of 2023 was not a setback, but a setup, because the money you lost was planted like a seed in soil you could not see. And when you see the full constellation, when all the stars have taken their positions and the pattern emerges complete and breathtaking against the dark sky of everything you have endured, you are going to understand that God was never random. Every twist, every detour, every delay was a precise, intentional placement of a star in your sky, positioned years in advance, so that on this night, the constellation would finally be visible. And it is going to be so beautiful that you need to sit down to take it in. This is why you were told to find your seat. Not because standing is wrong, but because what you are about to see is so intricate, so magnificently designed, that your knees may not hold you when the fullness of it registers. Let me tell you about the scale of what has been stored for you, because I do not think you understand the volume of what is coming. What I am about to describe is not exaggeration. It is not spiritual poetry designed to make you feel momentarily warm. It is an inventory of what is actually packed and labeled and ready for delivery. God has not been withholding from you. God has been storing for you. There is a universe of difference between those two realities. A parent who hides Christmas presents in the closet in September is not withholding gifts from the child. The child may feel forgotten walking past that closet every day. But on Christmas morning, when the door opens and gifts come pouring out, every tear becomes a memory of misunderstanding. Here is what makes this staggering. This is not one Christmas. This is multiple years of blessing compressed into a single delivery. Every prayer you prayed in 2019 that seemed to bounce off the ceiling, unanswered, it was heard and stored. Every tear you cried in 2020 when the world was falling apart and your world was falling apart inside it, every one was converted into currency in a kingdom economy that values suffering as investment. Every sacrifice you made in 2021 when you gave what you could not afford to give and stayed in a place that was slowly breaking you because you believed God told you to stay, all of it was recorded. Every act of endurance in 2022, when you kept going past the point where quitting was reasonable, all of it was packaged. Every act of faith in 2023, when you believed in things you could not see, all of that faith was multiplied. Every moment of perseverance in 2024, when you pushed through the kind of bone-deep weariness that makes your soul feel like it weighs 1,000 pounds, all of it was weighed and found worthy. And every second of waiting in 2025, every tick of every clock in every silent room, where you sat with patience stretched to its thinnest point, all of that waiting has been compressed into fuel for what comes next. And this delivery, this single, massive, overwhelming delivery, is arriving at your door. Not next year, not next month, in the next 72 hours. Let me paint the financial picture in detail, because I want you to see it so clearly that when it begins, you recognize it immediately and do not dismiss it as coincidence. You will check your account and there will be a deposit you cannot trace to any expected source. When the bank verifies it is real, you are going to sit in your car and feel something break open in your chest. Not sadness, something much older. The frozen certainty that you would never have enough is going to shatter like ice on a spring river. Warmth spreads through your body as abundance takes up residence where scarcity has been squatting for years. But that deposit is just the first wave. The business idea comes next. You have been carrying a seed of something, a concept you have thought about in the shower, scribbled on napkins, mentioned to people who nodded politely but did not understand. In the next 72 hours, that seed germinates so fast you can almost hear it growing. Someone says something that clicks the final piece into place. The idea that was abstract becomes concrete. The vision that was a daydream becomes a blueprint. Then the promotion arrives, or the new position, or the offer from the company you never applied to but somehow has your name because a person you met 3 years ago mentioned you to their director last week. The number on the offer letter will be higher than what you were secretly hoping for, the number you were almost embarrassed to ask God for because it felt greedy. It is not greedy, it is stored. And stored blessing does not arrive in modest portions. It arrives in portions that match the duration of the storage. The investment bears fruit. The side project catches fire. Multiple streams begin flowing simultaneously. These are not sequential events spread over months. These are simultaneous currents converging into a single river of provision, wider and deeper than anything your dry season prepared you to imagine. Now, let me show you the relational landscape, because money without meaningful relationships is just loneliness with better furniture. The person you have been praying for. You know exactly who I am talking about. Something is shifting in that person right now. Not because these words have power over their will, but because the same God who stored your blessing has been working in their heart with the same patience. They are about to have a moment of clarity that mirrors your own. And the change will not be gradual. It will be sudden, like someone turning on a light in a room that has been dark for years. And the relationship you thought was dead, the one you mourned, the one you held a private funeral for in your heart, where you buried the hope of reconciliation and planted grief flowers on the grave and walked away. That grave is about to crack open, not in a terrifying way, in a resurrection way. Life is pushing up through the stone, and the flowers you planted in grief are about to be displaced by something far more beautiful growing from underneath. New connections arrive like rain. A mentor appears who has walked the exact path you are about to walk. A collaborator emerges who has the skills you lack and lacks the skills you have. A friend materializes, not a surface friend, but the kind who can sit with you in silence, and in that silence you feel more understood than in years of conversation with others. And a community coalesces around you almost overnight. One day the water is scattered. The next morning it is solid and strong enough to walk on. Now look at your spiritual life. Look at what is about to happen in the most intimate territory of your existence. Because provision without spiritual clarity is like receiving a map you cannot read. And God is not just sending provision. God is sending the ability to navigate it. Your prayer life is about to change, and the change will not come from effort. You are not going to try harder or wake up earlier or use better words. The change comes because the static disappears. Imagine you have been trying to hear a broadcast through walls of interference. Every prayer accompanied by doubt, hissing, fear, crackling, confusion, buzzing. You could hear fragments, but the signal was never clean. In the next 72 hours, every source of interference gets unplugged, and the silence that follows, the sudden crystal clarity of a channel with no static, will be so startling that you might mistake it for something going wrong. Nothing is going wrong. Everything is finally going right. You will hear clearly, not audible voices, but something deeper than sound, a knowing that settles into your bones, a direction that does not come with question marks. You will ask God a question and the answer will arrive before you finish asking, because the channel that has been clogged with years of debris is now flowing clean and fast and free. The confusion lifts, and when I say lifts, I mean it the way fog lifts from a valley on a warm morning. One moment you are surrounded by thick, white blindness, unable to see 3 feet ahead. The next moment, the sun touches the fog and it dissolves, first in patches, then entirely, until you are standing in a valley so beautiful you cannot believe you were walking through it without seeing it. The inner compass that has been spinning wildly for years locks onto true north, and you feel it lock. There is an almost physical sensation, like a click in your spirit, when purpose aligns with calling, and calling aligns with timing, and timing aligns with provision. Every step forward stops feeling like a risk and starts feeling like a homecoming. You are walking into a place prepared for you, and every room you enter feels like it has your name written on the doorframe. And now we arrive at the reason you were told to sit down, because all of this, the financial flood, the relational flood, the spiritual flood, the creative flood, all of it converges. Not one at a time, over comfortable weeks, all of it, at once, in a torrent of goodness so overwhelming that your nervous system will not have a category for what it is experiencing. You have categories for grief. You have practiced sadness. You have rehearsed disappointment so many times that your body knows exactly what to do when loss arrives. Your shoulders know how to slump. Your chest knows how to tighten. You are an expert at receiving bad news, but you are an amateur at receiving glory, and what is coming is glory. Not the distant, theological, stained glass version that belongs in a cathedral. Real glory, present glory, the kind that shows up in your bank account and your text messages and your health report and your creative flow and your peace of mind all at the same time. The sensation will be overwhelming, and I need you to be prepared, because overwhelm does not always feel good, even when the cause is good. Your body may react with tears that do not feel like happy tears or sad tears, but something entirely other. Your mind may struggle to process the volume of blessing the way your eyes struggle to process the sun after a long time in darkness. This is what glory feels like from the inside. This is why Moses could not remain standing in the presence of God. But because the concentration of pure, unfiltered goodness was too much for a human frame in an upright position, the knees buckle not under the weight of judgment but under the weight of love. The body falls not in defeat but in surrender to a kindness so complete that resistance becomes impossible. You are about to feel this. You are about to stand in a flood of blessing so deep that your standing posture will become impossible to maintain. Not because something is wrong, because something is so profoundly right that your body needs a lower center of gravity to absorb it. This is why you were told to sit down. Your seat is not passivity, it is reception. A satellite dish does not stand upright waving its arms. It settles into position and receives what is being transmitted from a source far more powerful than itself. You are the dish. God is the source. And the signal about to hit you carries more data, more blessing, more provision, more healing, more restoration, more love than you have ever received in a single transmission. God did not wait this long because God is slow. God waited because the delivery required a version of you that did not exist until now. The person you were in 2020 could not have carried this. The person you were in 2022 could not have managed it. Glory requires strength built only through endurance. You have been in training. Every hard day was a rep. Every sleepless night was a set. Every disappointment was a weight on the bar, building muscle you could not see. And now, the training is complete. Your spiritual frame is strong enough. Your emotional capacity is wide enough. Your faith is deep enough. You are ready. Consider the specificity of what is coming. This is not a general blessing falling on a general population. This is a custom delivery, hand-packaged, individually addressed, with your name on the label. The provision matches the exact shape of your specific need. The healing targets the precise location of your particular wound. Every element was designed in response to a prayer that only you prayed, from a place of need that only you occupied. And the speed. The speed is going to astonish you. You have grown accustomed to slow. You have adjusted your expectations to the crawl of waiting, the glacial pace of delay. But the next 72 hours operate on a different clock. On that clock, years of storage can be unpacked in hours. The same way a file that took years to download can be unzipped in seconds once the download is complete. The download is complete. The unzipping has begun. Watch the dominoes. The first one falls, and within seconds, the chain reaction reaches dominoes standing miles away. The job leads to the relocation. The relocation leads to the connection. The connection leads to the partnership. The partnership leads to the provision. The provision leads to the freedom. And the freedom, that freedom you have been whispering about to God in the early hours of the morning, becomes your permanent address. I want to speak to the part of you that is afraid this is not real. The part that has been hurt before. The part that got excited once, or twice, or a dozen times, and each time the excitement curdled into disappointment. I see that part of you. I honor the wisdom of your caution. But what happened before was not this. The promises that did not materialize were seeds planted in soil that was not yet ready. Their failure was not evidence that the word of heaven is empty. It was evidence that timing matters as much as the promise. The soil is ready now. You are the soil. And you are ready not because you are perfect, not because you have achieved some spiritual score, but because you have been broken enough to receive without grasping, humbled enough to accept without demanding, and emptied enough to be filled without overflowing in the wrong direction. The cracks in your heart are not damage. They are drainage, the channels through which blessing flows into the deepest parts of you instead of pooling on the surface. So here is the aerial view. Imagine a drone rising above the landscape of your life, pulling back far enough to see all of it at once. The dry valleys flooding with financial provision, the cracked riverbeds filling with relational restoration, the parched fields soaking in spiritual clarity, the constellation assembling overhead, the delivery arriving with years of stored blessing in a single shipment, and you, sitting in the center of all of it. Quiet, still, ready, not passive but positioned, not weak but wise. Seated in the authority of someone who knows that what is coming does not require chasing, but simply receiving. This is what the impact looks like. Not a single lightning bolt, but a complete weather system moving over your territory. Storm clouds of provision, rain bands of healing, thunder of breakthrough so loud it shakes the walls of every limitation you have accepted as permanent. The old season is over, not ending, over. The drought has broken. The dam has failed. The flood is here. And you are going to emerge from the next 72 hours as a person that your past self would not recognize. Not because you changed who you are, but because who you are finally has the environment, the resources, the relationships, and the freedom to fully express itself for the first time. Every gift you buried to survive is about to be resurrected. Every dream you shelved to be practical is about to be placed on the center table of your life. Every talent you minimized because the world said it was not valuable is about to be revealed as the exact currency this next season requires. You did not lose anything during the waiting. You stored it. Just as God stored blessing for you, you stored potential for God. And the mutual unveiling, God showing you what has been stored and you showing the world what has been hidden, is going to be the most magnificent exchange this generation has witnessed. Heaven meets earth in your living room. The invisible becomes visible in your bank account. The promised becomes present in your relationships. And the waiting, all that impossible, faith-stretching waiting, finally becomes worth it. Breathe. Let the magnitude settle into your bones. Let the vision become more real to you than the evidence of your current circumstances. Because circumstances are about to be rewritten so completely that in 72 hours you will look back at this moment and marvel that you were ever worried at all. The worry was human, but what is coming is divine. And the divine always wins, not eventually, now. And so we arrive at the edge of the final preparation. There is one more thing that needs to happen before the floodgates open fully. One more act, not because God requires it, but because you deserve the dignity of conscious participation in your own miracle. A prayer, a declaration, a moment where you say to the one who stored everything, I am ready. I have taken my seat. Send it. That prayer is coming. That declaration is next. And when it leaves your mouth, the last lock on the last gate will turn, and everything you have just envisioned will stop being a vision and start being your life. Everything we have walked through together has been leading to this moment. Every word, every image, every truth that settled into your spirit was a single thread being woven into something far larger than you realized. The dam and the water building behind it. The accumulation happening in the invisible realm, the calibration of your mind and frequency, the constellation of people and events being arranged around your life. All of it has been preparation for what happens right now. In these final minutes we share together. This is not the end of a message. This is the ignition point. Everything before this moment was the gathering of fuel, the careful arrangement of every element that a fire requires. And now the match is about to be struck. What you step into when this message ends is not a return to your old life. It is an entrance into the life that has been waiting for you since before you took your first breath. So I need you to do something for me right now, and I am not asking casually. What we are about to do in these final minutes has the power to shift something permanently inside of you. If you are in a place where you can close your eyes, close them. If you are driving, keep your eyes open, but let your spirit close its eyes. Let the inner part of you, the part that has been listening beneath the listening, settle into stillness. Take a breath, not a shallow breath, not the kind you take when rushing through your day. Take a real breath, the kind that fills your lungs completely and pushes your shoulders back and lifts your chest. The kind your body has been begging you to take for weeks, but you have been too busy, too stressed, too overwhelmed to give it. Take that breath right now. And as you exhale, let something go. You already know what it is. There is something you have been gripping with white knuckles. A worry, a fear, a scenario you have been replaying over and over, trying to control it, trying to figure out every possible outcome so you can protect yourself from the worst one. Let it go. Not because it does not matter, but because the one who holds your future has already solved it. The provision has already been made. You have been carrying something that was never yours to carry, and right now you are setting it down. Feel the weight lift. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel the tension in your jaw, the tightness in your chest begin to dissolve. Because what we are doing right now is not just relaxation. This is spiritual surgery. This is the moment where the last walls of resistance inside you come down. The walls you built to protect yourself from disappointment. The walls you constructed after the last time you believed and got hurt. The walls that whispered, do not hope too much, do not expect too much, do not open yourself too much, because you know what happens when you do. Those walls served you once. They kept you alive during a season when you needed armor. But the season of armor is over. and what is coming requires you to be open, unguarded, and fully receptive. So we are taking the armor off, piece by piece, right now. The breastplate of cynicism that you strapped on after you were betrayed, remove it. The helmet of worst-case thinking that you wore so you would never be caught off guard again, set it aside. The shield of emotional distance that you hold between yourself and the good things that try to reach you, lay it on the ground. You will not need it where you are going. It is your homeland. Now I want to speak directly to the divine on your behalf, and I want you to let these words become your words. Not because I am more qualified to speak them, but because sometimes, when you have been in the battle for so long, you forget the language of peace. Sometimes you need someone to start the sentence so your spirit can finish it. We come before you not with perfection, not with a flawless record, not with a resume of spiritual accomplishments that would impress anyone. We come exactly as we are, tired in some places, scarred in others, carrying questions that do not have answers yet. But we come, and the fact that we are still here, still listening, still breathing, still believing, even after everything, that is not a small thing. That is the evidence of a strength that did not come from us. We ask not for easy days. We have learned that ease is not what builds the kind of strength we need. We ask for alignment. We ask that every thought, every decision, every step from this moment forward would be synchronized with the rhythm of what you are doing in our lives. Remove the static. Remove the interference. Remove the voices that are not yours but have been so loud for so long that we confuse them with truth. Let us hear clearly. Let us see accurately. Let us move with precision that only comes when a life is fully calibrated to its divine frequency. And for the blessings that have been stored, for the relationships that have been curated, for the opportunities held back until this exact moment, we say, we are ready. Not because we have figured everything out, but because readiness was never about perfection. Readiness was always about willingness. And we are willing, fully, completely, without reservation. We are willing to receive what has been prepared for us. Now shift with me from prayer to declaration, because there is a difference between asking and declaring. Asking is what you do when you are uncertain. Declaring is what you do when you have seen the evidence, when you have felt the confirmation in your bones, when you know beyond any doubt that what you are speaking is already true in a realm your physical eyes have not yet caught up to. I am ready. Say that inside yourself right now. Not as a wish, not as a hope, not as a tentative, fingers crossed, maybe it will work kind of statement. Say it as a fact. Say it as a truth that is as solid as the ground beneath your feet. I am ready. My mind is calibrated. The static has been cleared. The frequency has been tuned. The signal is strong and clear and connected directly to the source of everything being sent to me. My spirit is open. The walls are down. The armor is off. I am not bracing for disappointment. I am standing in the posture of someone who knows that what is coming is good and that I am worthy of receiving it. Not because I earned it through suffering, though I have suffered. Not because I earned it through patience, though I have been patient beyond measure, but because worthiness was built into me at the moment of my creation, and nothing that has happened since has the power to undo that. My territory is prepared. The ground has been cleared. The soil has been turned. The seeds that were planted in tears are ready to break through the surface. And I am not going to apologize for the harvest that is coming. I am not going to shrink it down to make other people comfortable. My harvest is my harvest. It was grown in my soil, watered by my tears, protected by my faith, and I will receive every single grain of it. What has been stored for me, I now receive. Every financial blessing held in reserve, every relationship kept at a distance until I was ready to receive it, without losing myself. Every opportunity delayed because I would have mishandled it a year ago but will now steward with wisdom. I receive it, all of it, without guilt, without the toxic humility that tells chosen ones they should want less so they do not appear greedy. Abundance is not greed. Abundance is alignment. What has been delayed, I now welcome. I do not hold bitterness toward the waiting. I do not resent the seasons that felt like nothing was happening, because I now understand that delay was never denial. Delay was development. Every month that felt wasted was actually a month of invisible construction, foundations being poured beneath the surface. And now the building is ready to rise, and it will rise so quickly that people will think it happened overnight. But you and I know the truth. This has been years in the making. What has been accumulating behind the dam, I now release into my life. Every drop of blessing, every ounce of favor, every gram of goodness that has been building while I wondered if God had forgotten me. It was never forgotten. It was being stored. It was being compounded. It was gathering force behind a wall that was always meant to be temporary. And now the wall cracks. Now the dam breaks. Now everything held back comes rushing forward with a force that will reshape my life permanently. Now let me take you back to where this all began, because the most powerful journeys do not just end. They circle back to the beginning and show you that the starting point was never what you thought it was. At the very beginning of this message, before the metaphors, before the revelations, before any of the truths unfolding over the course of this hour, God told you to sit down. Maybe you thought it was an instruction to rest because you were tired. Maybe you thought it was a command to stop striving. Maybe you even resisted it because sitting down felt like giving up, and you have never been someone who gives up. But now you understand, after everything we have walked through together, the meaning of those two words has completely transformed. Sit down was never about surrender in the way you feared. It was never about admitting defeat. Sit down was an invitation into a posture that most people never discover because they are too busy running, chasing, hustling, and exhausting themselves trying to catch something that was never running away from them. You sit down not because you are weak. You sit down because strength in its highest form does not need to prove itself through constant motion. The strongest force in the universe is gravity, and gravity never chases anything. It simply exists, and everything is drawn to it. That is the kind of strength you are stepping into. The kind that does not chase opportunities but attracts them. The kind that does not beg for recognition but commands it. You sit down not because you are tired, although you have every right to be. You have been carrying weight that would have crushed most people. You have been functioning at a level that required more energy than anyone around you realized. You have been showing up day after day, fighting battles on multiple fronts that nobody could see. That kind of endurance does not produce tiredness. It produces authority, and authority takes its seat. You sit down not because you have given up. You sit down because giving up was never actually an option for you. And somewhere deep inside, you always knew that. Even in your darkest moments, even when the voice in your head was screaming at you to quit, there was another voice, quieter but immovable, that simply said, "Not yet. Keep going. This is not your ending." That voice was not your own. It was the sound of your destiny refusing to let you abandon it. You sit down because sitting is what royalty does. Sitting is the posture of kings and queens. Think about every throne you have ever seen, in movies, in paintings, in the images that flash through your mind when you think about ultimate authority. The person on the throne is always seated, not pacing, not running, not scrambling, seated. Because a throne is not a temporary resting place. A throne is a permanent position of power, and the one who sits on it does not sit because there is nothing to do. They sit because their very presence sets everything else in motion. Let me tell you about this throne. It is not a generic seat. It is not a mass-produced chair that anyone could claim. This throne was designed with specifications so precise, so intimately tailored, that only one person in the entire history of creation could ever sit in it, and that person is you. This throne was prepared before you were born, before your parents met. In the blueprint of eternity, your throne was sketched and designed long before you ever took your first breath. Your suffering built the legs of this throne. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every season of loss was not punishment. It was craftsmanship. A master builder using the hardest materials available, forged in the hottest fire, to create a foundation that would never wobble, never crack, never collapse under the weight of the authority resting on it. Thrones built from easy lives tip over at the first challenge. But your throne, built from genuine suffering, will stand forever. Your patience carved the backrest. All those years of waiting, all those seasons of watching other people receive their blessings while yours seemed perpetually delayed. Every night you went to sleep still believing, still holding on despite having every logical reason to let go. That patience was not just endurance, it was a chisel, carefully removing every unnecessary piece until what remained was perfect support for the weight of your calling. Most people abandon ship long before the carving is complete, but you stayed. Your tears polished the surface until it gleamed. Do you know what tears are made of? Salt and water. Do you know what salt and water create when applied to raw materials over time? A polish that nothing artificial can replicate. Your crying was never weakness. It was refinement. Each tear that fell in the darkness, each moment of honest pain that you allowed yourself to feel instead of burying it, was a stroke of polish on the throne, being prepared for you. Every trial was a carpenter shaping your seat. Every rejection was a sculptor removing what did not belong. Every closed door was an architect ensuring the final design matched the original blueprint exactly. And now the throne is finished, complete, not a single element missing. And the one who commissioned it is standing beside it with a look that says, "Finally, finally you are here. Take your seat." Those 3 words carry more power than you realize. Take your seat is not just a suggestion, it is a coronation. The moment where everything shifts from preparation to position, from waiting to ruling, from surviving to reigning. And when you take that seat, something happens in the spiritual realm that sends shockwaves through every system that has been working against you. Now let me tell you what is about to happen, and I want you to listen carefully because this is not motivation. This is not inspiration, designed to make you feel good for an hour and then fade. This is prophecy spoken over your specific life in this specific moment, starting tonight, not next week, not next month, tonight. When you lay your head down, something shifts. The spiritual atmosphere around your life undergoes a permanent change. The prayers that felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling for months, they break through tonight. The requests that seem to disappear into silence, they get processed tonight. And starting tomorrow, you are going to notice something different about the way the world responds to you. People who overlooked you will suddenly see you. Ideas that have been sitting dormant will come alive with clarity you have never experienced before. Tomorrow is the first full day of your new season, and it will announce itself with evidence that even your most skeptical thoughts cannot dismiss. Within the next 72 hours, you will receive confirmation. Watch for it. It is coming in forms you might not expect, so pay attention with your whole being. Watch for the phone call from a number you do not recognize, carrying a message that changes everything. Watch for the conversation that starts casually but turns into an opportunity, aligning perfectly with something you have been praying about. Watch for the door that opens without you knocking. This is the signature move of divine favor. You did not apply. You did not network. You did not strategize your way into it. The door simply opens. And when it does, do not stand outside questioning whether you deserve to walk through it. Walk through it boldly, confidently, with the posture of someone who knows this was not a lucky break, but a scheduled appointment on the calendar of heaven. These are not coincidences. What you are about to experience has been orchestrated with a precision that makes the most complex human engineering look like a child stacking blocks. Every confirmation you receive is a divine signature on the document of your new season. This is not random. This is not luck. This is the intentional, unstoppable fulfillment of a plan set in motion before you were born. And I want to say something gently here, because this comes from genuine care for your preparation. If you want to make sure your mind is fully tuned to receive everything being sent your way, the link is right there in the description below. The Genius Switch, $39. 8 minutes of targeted audio that recalibrates your subconscious patterns. Full money-back guarantee. Think of it as your final act of preparation, the last thing you do before the floodgates open. Not because you need to buy something to earn your blessing, but because a wise person does not just wait for the harvest. A wise person makes sure the barn is ready. Now, I want to close this message the way it deserves to be closed. Not with a summary, not with a recap, but with a blessing. And I need you to receive this blessing not as words on a screen, but as a living, breathing force that enters your life the moment it is spoken and does not leave. You are chosen, and being chosen does not mean you had it easy. It means you were selected for something so important that the process of preparing you required years of fire, and years of rain, and years of silence, and years of storms. You were chosen not despite your struggles, but through them. Every challenge you survived was evidence that God was forging something inside of you that ordinary circumstances could never produce. You are prepared, not perfectly, because perfection is not the standard. Prepared in the way that a sword is prepared, heated and hammered and cooled and sharpened until it can cut through anything standing between it and its purpose. You have been heated by circumstances that raised your temperature to levels you did not think you could survive. You have been hammered by situations that reshaped you in painful but necessary ways. You have been cooled by seasons of waiting that tempered your steel, and you have been sharpened by every lesson, every failure, every comeback. You are seated in authority, not because someone handed you a title, not because you climbed a ladder, but because you survived a process that most people abandon halfway through. The authority you carry is not borrowed. It is not temporary. It is not conditional upon anyone else validating it. Your authority comes from the throne itself, from the seat built by your own story, and no one can remove you from a position that your suffering paid for. And what is coming for you, hear me now, cannot be stopped. There is no force in existence powerful enough to prevent what God has released from reaching you. The blessing is already in motion. The breakthrough has already been signed, sealed, and sent. It is not waiting for you to prove one more thing. It is in transit, and its arrival is guaranteed by the same power that hung the stars in the sky and told the ocean where to stop. It cannot be stolen. Things were taken from you in the past, opportunities snatched away, relationships sabotaged, financial blessings intercepted by unexpected emergencies every time you started to get ahead. But this next season has a different security protocol. What is coming to you now is marked, tagged, sealed, and escorted by forces that do not answer to the thief. What has your name on it will reach your hands. It cannot be delayed any longer. The delays are over. The postponements are finished. The pending status that your blessings have been sitting in has been changed to approved and in transit. For years, your files sat in the pending folder, not rejected, never rejected, but held because the timing was not right. The review is complete. The inspection has passed. Your blessings are no longer pending. They are active. They are arriving. The dam is cracking. Can you hear it? In the quietest part of your spirit, beyond the noise of your daily life, there is a sound. It is the sound of pressure finally exceeding capacity. A low, deep rumble that started the moment you pressed play on this message, building with every truth, every declaration spoken over your life. The cracks are spreading. The dam was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to accumulate enough volume to create a flood, and the accumulation is complete. The water is rising, not slowly, not gradually, not in a manageable trickle you can plan around. The water is rising with the force of something compressed and contained for far too long. When this dam breaks, and it is breaking now, the release will be sudden. The release will be overwhelming. Your first instinct might be to wonder if you can handle it. You can. That is why you were prepared. And your territory is about to be flooded. Every dry place in your life is about to be saturated with goodness. Every area where you have experienced lack is about to overflow with provision. Every relationship marked by loneliness is about to be filled with connection so genuine you will forget what isolation felt like. Your financial landscape transforms from desert to garden. Your emotional world shifts from drought to abundance. More goodness than you have ever experienced in your entire life. Think about the best day you have ever had. The day when everything went right, when laughter came easy, when love felt tangible, when peace settled over you. That day is about to become your baseline. Not your peak, your baseline. The starting point from which even better days are measured. This is not optimism. This is not wishful thinking. This is the natural, inevitable result of a divine process that has been running in your life for years. Seeds do not stay buried forever. Rain does not fall without producing growth. Winter does not last through eternity. And you, chosen one, you have been in winter long enough. The ice is melting, the soil is warming, and the first green shoots of your new season are already pushing through ground that was frozen for so long you forgot things could grow there. But they can, and they will, and they are. So, sit down, chosen one. Sit down and let the magnitude of what is happening wash over you. Sit down in the throne that your story built. Sit down with the confidence of someone who has fought every battle, survived every attack, endured every setback, and is still here, still standing, still believing, still chosen. Sit down and receive. Open your hands, open your heart, open every door in your spirit, and let the flood come. Do not try to control it. Do not try to manage it. Just receive. The way the earth receives rain, the way the shore receives waves, the way a mother receives a child she has been waiting for, with wonder, with tears, with a gratitude so deep it cannot find words. What is about to hit your life is massive. Not small, not moderate, massive. The kind of massive that changes your family tree. The kind that shifts generational patterns. The kind that makes your grandchildren tell stories about the season when everything changed, when the curse broke, when the tide turned, when the chosen one in their bloodline finally stepped into their full authority, and everything was different from that moment forward. And you are finally ready for it, after everything. After the tears and the trials and the silence and the suffering. After the moments when you almost quit, and the moments when you wished you could disappear. After all of it, you are ready. Not because the process made you perfect, but because the process made you prepared. And prepared is all you ever needed to be. So sit down, chosen one. Sit down in your authority. Sit down in your peace. Sit down in the absolute, unshakable, knowing that what God started in you will be finished. That what was promised to you will be delivered. That what was stored for you will be released. And that starting today, starting this very hour, your life will never be the same. Sit down and receive. It is here. It is now. It is yours.